What does it take to leave Europe and survive at the highest level of American motocross? Different countries, brutal weather, rough tracks. This is what makes Olly Stone so valuable to the industry. I can't think of any that they've come over, they were good in the GPs, and they didn't make it in the US. There is something to that whole experience.
TK would always talk to me, and he was the manager of Troy Lee KTM at the time, and he's like, I want European mechanics. He's like, who do you know that would come over? He goes, I want like mud skills, I want mud prep, just to broaden his knowledge of what goes on over there.
He came up through Europe, wrenching for teams in the GPs and learning the sport in some of its toughest conditions before earning an opportunity in America at Pro Circuit.
Because that was the year Dino left to go do his 450 program, so he took Paul Parabinos with him, Baggett's guy, and went to Geico. So they lost 2 mechanics that 1 year. That might double my chances. Hello? He's like, Mitch Payton. I'm like, been one of my biggest heroes my whole entire life. Everyone wants to get that call, and it was my turn.
He wrenched for Austin Forkner during the prime of his career and worked with Justin Barcia, and eventually becoming team principal of the Troy Lee Designs GasGas team. Then it all disappeared when KTM pulled the budget and the team folded. 10 years of being at the top of the sport as a top mechanic, crew chief, to then just not have a job.
Yeah. So obviously they don't care about resumes. So that sucked. Like, it just showed me that the industry is kind of ruthless.
Now, after watching one chapter of his career come to an end, Olly has bet on himself once again, joining MX6 Racing as team manager with a mission to build a privateer team capable of battling the factory programs. But I feel like you have a factory level structure.
Absolutely. I think that's the only way for it to be successful. And I came in with the mindset of we can win in 5 years only if we have this structure.
Gypsy gang, welcome Olly Stone to the podcast. I'm going to interrupt this podcast to bring you a pretty crazy statistic. 70% of people that watch this channel are not subscribed. That does a couple of things. A, that means that you might not be getting served this content the minute that it comes out. And it also just tells YouTube that they're not really worth watching. So if you want to support the podcast, the easiest and quickest, most high impact thing you can do is subscribe to this channel, give this podcast a like, and leave a comment down below to let us know who you would like to see on Gypsy Tales next. We're going to do our best to bring them to you. All right, let's get back to the podcast.
I met a gypsy.
Pull this up. You can pull that up to you.
Better?
Oh, that's a lot. You sound great.
Are we?
Yeah, this is awesome.
We got the accents in today, right?
Yeah, we're crushing it. Olly Stone.
I'm here. Made it.
We're doing it.
We are.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this on the way here.
Right.
You're a guy that I've been friends with for
kinda, right?
2012, but you never have these long conversations. So it's like, I see you.
Yeah.
Every time I see you, I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Want to say g'day, catch up.
Yeah.
But it's never a deep combo. I love doing these kind of shows because I'm just going to have a lot of time with you.
And it's weird. So I was thinking about it too. Our paths crossed multiple times.
So many times.
But never really connected.
Yeah.
We got a lot of mutual friends and just now we're doing it. So
yeah. So
cool.
I'm excited. So where do we start? What was your, even before we get to America, obviously you are British.
Yes.
What was the life that you led to get you to the point where you're now a team manager for a Supercross team?
Okay, so it was crazy actually thinking all the way back. And again, mutual friends, like fans and stuff like that. 1994, MotoGP race, Donington Park. Me and my dad went. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Doing raced, obviously been on your pod, like big hero of mine, right?
Yeah.
So like nostalgic and just, that was the turning point for me. I worked on bikes, had a bike and stuff like that. Like we all do, we ride little bikes and stuff. I had a 50 and worked on that, but it was 1994, Donington Park. And I'm like, I want to be a MotoGP mechanic.
No way.
Yep, that's what it was.
How old were you then?
10. I was like, we slept in the van, we practiced, we watched the race, like hung out in the evening and stuff. And I'm like, this is what I want to do.
And not a rider?
At that point, no, I didn't really know it was influential. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and watch MotoGP when it was in Japan and Australia and just followed it religiously. And it was like, I wanted to be like the greats, the great mechanics and the crew chiefs and stuff like that in MotoGP. And that's where the hunger started.
It's so unique to not want to be a rider.
It is. I don't understand why. It was the technical aspect. It was working on my bikes. Like I spent more time working on my bikes than riding my bikes. Like I would ride on the weekends and then spend every night during the week
Really?
working on it, polishing spokes and stuff. Like the dumbest little things that would represent it. I remember polishing my rivets on my air filter cover that we put gauze in so it would breathe. You know, it was just dumb.
That's awesome.
But it's
though.
also the attention to detail that did get me to where I'm at today. you know?
Yeah. So your dad obviously was into bikes.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so would he work on bikes with you when you were a
Yep.
kid?
He taught me a lot. Like I was doing top ends when I was like 12 on two strokes, measuring squish.
Yeah,
you know, like this on
right.
my two strokes and stuff like that, messing with gearing. And it was just, we just tinkered and we just understood and read magazines and books. And there was no internet back then for access for me, you know. It was like one computer in the library at school. So it was just books, you know.
It's so unique to not want to be a racer. Like if you look at Jade, like you just said, you just finished listening to his pod, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to be a rider.
Yeah.
And then so many guys rip that are mechanics. They spent their life wanting to be racers, and then slowly you get to that point. I mean, even for me, I wanted to be a racer, and then I was like, okay, you're fucking slow. Like, this isn't gonna,
what are you gonna do? You gotta make some money, right?
What can you do to keep the dream alive of like being able to ride, get free bikes? And that's how it starts for so many people. But it's very interesting that it's like, no, I'm gonna be a mechanic.
Yeah. And like I raced decently.
Yeah, you were good.
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
We all are. That's how we get the bug, right? But it was at the point when it was time to leave school and figure out what I wanted to do. It was a job. I wasn't going to make money racing, you know. It was like the local events, stuff like that. It was more so I'm working on bikes. Always wanted to be within the racing, and that's the easiest way for some. That's the handful of people that make it as pro racers.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was like, how can I get to the top my way?
Yeah.
And it was that way for sure.
That's so sick. And so how old were you when your dad started to work with you in the shed? Because my experience, I tried to work on bikes and my dad was like, get out of the fucking way.
That's my first memory of bikes, honestly. I
working on
remember,
them.
yeah, like I just turned 42 yesterday, right? So
Happy birthday.
thank you. Yeah. So I'm old now in the grand scheme of things, but I remember my grandfather was my dad's mechanic, dad riding in the fields behind the house. The earliest memory I have was them pushing me on my dad's bike back home and then just tinkering on stuff. Like that's where it started.
So do you feel like you picked that stuff up easily when you were a kid?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like it's like I am now, like the perfectionist that I am, it was still like, oh, we can make this better, or like, we should turn that tire. You don't need to. It's not going to make any difference to us on a Sunday race weekend, right? But we'd just turn it and it was nonstop.
That's awesome.
It was nonstop.
So did you do bike builds and stuff when you were a kid? Like, do you ever remember doing like big projects?
Yep. Powder coating frames. Everything was steel back then, you know, like powder coating frames, building wheels, top ends, cleaning header pipes. Like, it was pretty intense. Too intense for what we needed to do, you know? A lot of my friends would say, like, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I'm like, no, I'm going to service it. You know, I'm just going to grease it, you know, and it was 24/7.
So where does the dirt bikes come in? So if you have that moment at MotoGP, how do you end up in a Supercross paddock?
I think it was access. Maybe it's just like, at the time, I wasn't great at school. I got by. I had okay grades. But doing my research to be in MotoGP, they were like, you need an engineering degree or a mathematic degree. And I'm like, no chance. Maths wasn't my strong point. Yeah, math wasn't my strong point.
So you kind of like went down the rabbit hole?
I did do some research. There was a local Honda dealer that they were really helpful in pointing me in the right direction, and we would get our bikes from there. And it was more like, it's a very unique person that would make it into a MotoGP mechanic without connections. Like, some guys go with riders or just work their way up. And the road racing scene wasn't huge where I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, there was a couple tracks far away, but it was very low level. It just wasn't going to work for me. And then I got more into it, and I'm like, well, there's 3 mechanics on the bike, 2 mechanics on the bike. There's a crew chief. Like, they didn't really have so much data back then, but they were doing top ends themselves and things like that. It's like a big crew that worked on they were 500 two-strokes.
Yeah.
You know, like, they were machines.
Yeah.
And it was easier for me to work more on moto. I would go to the races on the weekends and someone would blow up an engine and they knew of my mechanical background. It was more, hey, can you fix this? Can you take a look at this during the week?
No way.
Yeah, and I was bringing stuff home, racing myself, bringing stuff home. And it turned out
That's honestly sick.
It just all fell into place, right?
Yeah.
Take a step back and just look at the bigger picture. And it's just like everything happens for a reason, right?
100%.
And I was destined to do what I'm doing today. The way everything just fell into place. So it's humbling.
Fell into place is like a weird.
It is.
Because so much of it is like you made it happen.
Yes.
But there is so much randomness and luck and
unbelievable.
But I always say that there's like multiple types of luck. Like there's the dumb luck where it's like you just stumble on the street and see $100. Like you did nothing.
Never happens, so does it?
Yeah, no. But it's like that's complete dumb luck. Or you buy a lottery ticket and you win the thing. Dumb luck.
Yeah.
But then there's these other types of luck where you build your skill set to the point where people know about it. And then that's where it's like you make your own luck.
Also, and those doors open, right?
Exactly.
They're opportunities. So like, it just got to that point where I left school. I was doing an apprenticeship in a local dealership.
Pull this up.
Yeah.
No,
I was doing an apprenticeship, local dealership.
Yeah.
It was Kawasaki, Yamaha, that kind of stuff. And then I was making more money doing side work than what I was doing my apprenticeship. And like for the guys on the pod, like no one really knows an apprenticeship in the US. It's like you work 4 days a week in a shop and then you go to college 1 day a week.
Yeah.
So I was doing that and you get paid peanuts, mate.
Yeah.
You know, and you
First year apprentice, bro.
Yeah.
$8 an hour.
If that.
Yeah.
Like you work on shit where bolts snap off. Everything's rusty. So
you clean shit for a year.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. You just get to, you're the tire bitch, you know, you're doing all that kind of stuff. So
bro, the concept, especially, like, dude, I'm sure you see this in your position now.
Yeah.
The concept of a fucking kid coming in and doing an apprenticeship and eating shit for 2 years.
Yeah.
In America, not a thing.
Nope. No.
So everyone, I want to be a fucking
Well, no
factory
one comes
cake.
in at the top. Yeah. And you shouldn't be expected to come at the top. And I don't think you should come in at the top because you need to do the steps and it's humbling and you learn the skills. It made me a better mechanic doing that.
And it weeds out the people.
It does. Yeah.
Because like you said, you're destined to do this.
Yeah.
And you would have done just the shittest after the shittest job for year after year. And it creates this want in you to succeed. And those, I feel like that's how you end up with like very high level people.
I believe so.
Because that they are willing to just eat shit for so long to get there and to change the tires but I think nowadays, especially with the younger generation, everything's so glamorized. Everybody they want things right now. They want the instant validation. Like I've seen it with people that work with us, you know, where it's like coming in, I want this much money. It's like, what can you do?
Yeah.
Are you, and I literally had the conversation at one point where I was like, you want this much money? That's a qualified tradesman.
Yeah. You're
wage.
here and this is where it's
And I'm
at.
like, can you do this, and this?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't get that wage.
Yeah.
Because there's all of these skills that you don't have. And if you need to learn them on the job, that's coming out of my pocket.
Yeah. Oh, it takes time away from you also having to teach them.
That's why an apprenticeship exists.
Yeah.
Is because I'll take on you not having the knowledge and then you will accept less pay to get the knowledge. But I feel like that concept is...
I don't see it here, you know? You get training mechanics or things, but I also think, I mean, there's loads of reasons why. Like, again, we didn't grow up with the internet or social media or like Instagram and all that stuff. Everyone sees the glamour in it now. And don't get me wrong, those are the good days, but no one really posts the bad days, you know? Like, we just didn't have that to go off back then. It was just, we're in an MXGP paddock and I'm taking 3 engines apart to make one because it's been raining in Czech Republic. And you're just like, it's a cool story now, you know, but back then you're like, what am I doing? You know, it's raining,
cold
country,
as fuck,
don't
can't
speak
feel your fingers.
Don't speak the language. It's their money. It's just, we just did it, you know, and it just makes you better though, I think. And it puts a smile on your face because it's just like everyone has a story and what you go through to get where you're at, you know?
Yeah. And so you start the apprenticeship.
Yep.
So you're doing the broken bolts, the strip bolts,
Yep.
cleaning, degreasing, changing tires.
50cc scooters, changing belts, and this the stupidest stuff that no one wants to do, you know? So, yeah, I worked my way through that. Was racing on the weekend still, bringing stuff home, pretty much doing my 9 till 5, going home, working on my own stuff, doing top ends, bottom ends, just working on other people's stuff, cash. And then it got to a point where I was getting over racing myself, wanted to look at the bigger picture, like started helping out a local pro. And he was like, hey, we just look after my bikes. And the rest was history, really. I'd bring his bikes to the race. I'd go home, work on his bikes. Again, bring home more stuff that was breaking at the races for people. And I did that for like a year and a half.
So how old would you have been at this point, you reckon?
20, 19,
Okay.
19, 20. A little older,
Yeah.
you know. And then opportunity came around for an MXGP team that was based in the south of England, and they wanted some young mechanics. And I was really good friends with actually Dave Thorpe's son, because we went to college together.
Yeah.
And his son Ryan, we just hit it off. He was in the same boat as me, wanted to work on bikes. His dad was a 3-time world champion, but he didn't care about racing. He wanted to work on them. So we became good friends. And he was going to go to the Suzuki team and be a mechanic. So he put me in touch with them, and it was like I was a couple years older than him, and we're both packing our bags, going to live this dream, quit our jobs, stopped helping the riders I was helping, and just was like, let's go. We'll travel the world doing this thing.
So what team was that?
Forkner and Suzuki at the time. Jake Nichols' dad, Guy, sponsored it, and Jake rode on it. And Ryan worked for Jake. I worked for Jason Dugan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, another small world, right?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a very healthy scene in the UK at that point in
Massive.
time, right?
You had guys like Tyler Rattray
Yep.
winning world championships, racing in England. Stephen Sword. Like,
Yeah.
the level in England at that time was
What year
pretty
was
high.
this? What year would this have been? 05, 04?
Yeah, 04, 05, 06 maybe.
Did you remember how much of a beast Gareth Swanepoel was in those years on that Kawasaki?
Yep, on the Molson Kawasaki, yeah.
Mate, he was, at one point in time, one of my favourite riders.
That's cool. Like, so yeah, then he rode for Molson Kawasaki at the time, and like
Yeah.
Billy McKenzie was on
Billy
the Dixon
Mack.
Yamp. Like,
Yeah.
there was probably the top 10 in England those years were all in the top 20 MXGP.
Oh, easy.
They were all scoring points on the weekend, and then we would drive it back. We'd go into Belgium and stuff, and then driving back for the British Championship. Back to like first year, I went to Japan. You know, the GP there, South Africa, and stuff like that. So almost starstruck that like we were doing this.
So you basically just spent, like you did an apprenticeship, grinding, doing stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
And then got that opportunity in the GPs, and then that was it.
That was it. Just GPs after that. It was GPs every couple of years, like another opportunity came along, moved on to a different team. You want to make more money, you want to up yourself, better riders and such, and just kept clicking it off, you know.
So cool.
So I actually got scammed recently on a credit card, which was a nightmare to deal with. A dude in the UK bought $3,000 of Lego, believe it or not, and some Nando's. So I had to cancel the card, I had to wait for a new one, I had to dispute the charges, the whole deal. And this was the second time it happened to me. And it really just made me realize how important proper security is when it comes to anything to do with your money. And this is why I started using Cash App, which was awesome when they reached out and decided to help us out on the podcast. Your security deserves to be a priority, and Cash App treats it that way. With Security Lock, Cash App requires a successful Face ID or biometric authentication to access your account. It's like your money is protected by your own personal bodyguard, even if your phone is lost or stolen. Plus, if you're about to send money to someone new and Cash App notices something looks a bit off or that you might be falling for a scam, it will send you a warning before the money is sent to confirm that everything looks right. Turn on Security Lock in your Cash App settings today and pay attention to scam warnings to keep your money safe. Learn more at cash.app/security. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code SECURE10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial service platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank. Member FDIC. Discounts and promotions provided by Cash App a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
I worked for Dave Thorpe on that CCM project, which people over here, some people talk about it still, it was like an English brand. They wanted to bring back the nostalgia of the old English motorcycle. And we worked on that project with like Steven Sorb was on the team.
How was that?
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It didn't last forever. The funding ran out. There was a lot of problems that came with it, but actually it made me a better mechanic, made me understand engineering, materials, and just construction of a motorcycle, really. So it was tough, a lot of hours, but it was actually interesting.
So how far along did that project get?
I think it went 3 or 4 years. I was with them for 2. Then they stopped doing the World Championships.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I'm doing the GPs. They did an English-only program, and it wasn't for me. So I just rolled the dice on myself pretty much and just started looking for a job in MXGP.
Would there be any photos of that bike?
Yeah.
How do we find that?
Just Google.
So
You want to do it now?
CCM.
Yeah, right. Put CCM dirt bike. And I worked for Tom Church at that time too.
Go images.
This one here. See that?
Ah.
That's my bike. That's the one I built.
No way, dude.
So I worked for Tom Church that year, and his dad was the one that owned the Molson Kawasaki team.
Huh.
That Swanee rode on, Saudi rode on, all those kind of people.
Yeah.
And then that team, they stopped. They lost funding. They lost sponsorship and stuff. So then, obviously, Tom was looking for a ride, and I worked for Tom, and like heard some horror stories about TC before that, but we got on so good, so good. And it was like the circle that we were in. Like he lived in Marshfield in England, and they had the track. And going back now, working at Pro Circuit, when PC would go to the donations, they would ride at Marshfield. So there's so much nostalgia there, right? And like Swanee lived in Marshfield, and they called them the Marshfield Mafia and stuff. And all the boys there that raced, like I went on TC's bachelor party, and there's like Swanee's there, like Saudi's there, like all the boys. Like it was just this little pocket in the south of England where it's like, it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
No way.
Yeah, those years were tough, but we enjoyed it too.
Go pull up that photo of the bike again.
So the frame's
It
glued.
doesn't look that bad.
Yeah. So like the frame was glued together.
Glued.
It was like in 6 or 7 pieces or something like that. And it was casted and then glued together. Like the glue that's on airplane wings.
Yeah, right. So have you know that they glue the Tesla, the Cybertruck chassis together?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen videos of them testing that glue?
Yeah.
Go to...
It's the same, it's a similar glue. And also I think like on like an R1 and stuff, I could be wrong, but like the yokes are like glued together too.
Really?
I need to double check, but I remember that being spoken about when we were doing that project.
So, yes, this is literally the fucking video that I was thinking about. Dude, watch this.
This is a commercial.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So go... Yeah, keep going. Yeah. Yeah, go to this. So that's...
same stuff. Yep.
So that's what you guys were
We'd
using.
get it in like caulking guns, and just like they did the originals, right? And then through we figured out that it was like tongue and groove, but then you had to drill and put pins in to make it stronger and things like that. And just, it's what they wanted to do. It's like their project. I think there was some government funding there, and just we pulled in a lot of people. Like Dave Thorpe was the chief of it. So like obviously he offered a job to his son, and then we worked together, and I was offered a job, and just it was pretty cool.
That is a cool thing to be a part of. So they've got this, and they're gonna lift it. They're gonna lift a Cybertruck with the 2 bits of like just that glued together.
Same color, everything.
Really?
Yeah,
so they were using that shit back then. Look at that. You would never think that that's possible.
Actually, after working with it,
you would?
Yeah. I believe that stuff's on airplane wings too.
No way. So go back to the actual photo of the bike. So 6 pieces of the frame.
Yeah, one, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think 6. But look at all the machining and the webbing behind the steering. You know, that kind of stuff. And like the clamps were made. No linkage though, because it was like a KTM swing arm. It was like a Bitzer bike. We took Yamaha motors because they were strong.
Yeah.
The carbon tank, subframe, airbox, like all that kind of stuff. Like it was a lot of money that went into that. It was Talon wheels.
50
'cause they
mil
were like-
WP forks.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, dude, no linkage.
Yeah, but even like Muck-Off was from our area back then too. Like
No way.
Muck-Off on the bike back then. So they were getting into the sponsorship. Pipes were Depp actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have a depth pipe
You did?
back in the day. Yeah,
Yeah.
on my it would
Craig
have been
Elwell
a,
built them, yeah.
it would have been an '05 CRF 250. I had a
Yeah.
depth pipe on
Yeah.
that.
You still see him. I see him here from time to time and I'm like, huh.
Really?
We used to go and dyno our bikes there, you know?
Yeah,
Like
right.
back in the factory on the south coast of England.
So how was it? An okay bike?
It was okay, yeah. Yeah. It was too rigid in the beginning. Way
Yeah,
too
look at
stiff.
that head.
Yeah, I
Like, you can
know.
see that there.
gnarly. Now, knowing what I know now, I should have just got the grinder out so I cutting pieces out. You know, soften it up a little bit, and like the clamps there are so square edged and just too rigid.
Yeah,
But
dude, you look like look
might
at
have been good Supercross bike. I don't know, but Motocross and MXGP, it was too stiff. But
look at the fork lugs,
yep,
triple clamps,
Yep.
head stem. That's all you need to know about that motorcycle, dude.
solid. Yeah, absolutely solid. But,
I don't know how much of this I can actually say, but we just did a trip to Japan.
I saw that.
with Honda.
Yeah.
Dude, insane.
I can imagine.
So one of the most interesting things that I saw there, they had the guy that is responsible for designing the frame,
Okay.
and he's done all of them.
Okay.
Same guy
Yeah.
has just done every alloy Honda frame.
Okay.
And they had these models, and you could like basically see the force getting applied to the 3D computer model.
Yeah.
And it starts as green, dark green, yellow, blue, and then it like goes to red. So then you can like, as force is applied, you can see where things get stiffer and where things bind up.
Yeah.
And then they also had the engine mounts. There was no engine attached, but it was very striking visually to see the like where the forces and like
Yeah.
where things actually mattered on the frame.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, but basically the engine mounts, it's like the very last thing to feel any input
Yeah.
from the frame.
Yeah.
Which I would have thought you'd feel it straight away.
Yeah.
Because I always struggle. I've got those FCP
Yeah.
mounts.
Yeah.
on
There's
my
a lot
bike,
of them on
Yeah.
the market now.
and I can't notice a difference when I ride with them. But my friend, he came race my bike at World Vets.
Yeah.
Instantly, from the first time that he was on the ground, he could feel the difference.
Yeah.
And I
And
was like,
some people are like that too. And even like in my shop currently, the first things people want to do is throw those hangers on that bike. And I'm like, no.
which hangers?
Like any modification.
The
I like to
engine
modify
mounts?
stock or engine
Yeah.
mounts, things like that. I'm like, no, we'll do that last.
Yeah.
Let's work through some geometry. Let's work through some bigger things like suspension and offset and all that stuff. For me, the hangers, the engine mounts are the last. It's like the cherry on top, you know?
Well, and it's literally the last thing
it makes
that
sense.
gets forces.
Yeah, coming
So,
from what you saw at Honda, so it makes perfect sense in the way it's done.
yeah, I was thinking to myself, like, is there something wrong with me that I just can't like feel this? But it's literally the very last
Yeah,
point of
yeah.
the motorcycle that like gets that input. But that head stem, that's the area that is the most critical.
Absolutely.
Apparently,
Yeah.
like that, because
believe
that's what I asked the
Yeah.
engineer, and he said this is the most difficult to get right.
A lot of pressure for the engineer. They have a bad year. He's suicidal, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it was very, very interesting to see that. And then now I look at that, I'm like, too stiff. I already know.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
I already know.
so many problems with that stuff, you know. But like that was a big learning year for
That's
me.
a massive learning
Yeah.
thing to go through.
The stories of just what we would go through, and even like the riders were there. They were deep involved and stuff, and we were testing, and it was fun. Though.
What were some of the things that stick out from memory?
Just the amount of parts that we went through and stuff, and just like the frames weren't that. They took a lot to get right. It was a lot of revisions of frames and test bikes and things like that, and it was just a constant development process, which we knew what we were getting into at the time. It was just the hours that we grinded just to get back on the track the next day, and just everyone involved. But it was good.
How were the riders through that process? Did everyone kind of know what they were signing up for?
That's a good question. yes and no. I think on paper it was a really good opportunity, and it was a good opportunity. But sometimes some riders can be quite naive. I'm not saying that they were, but it's just like, well, we're going to go race this bike. It looks pretty good.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
they ride it and then like, oh, we got some work to do. And at that point, everyone's already committed with contracts and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that can make such a big difference. Like I think about Jack Miller at the moment. So Yamaha, basically last in the MotoGP.
Yeah.
And you've got Quattararo probably going to leave.
Yep.
Like everyone's kind of, and then you've got Jack who he kind of gets where he's at in his career and his life.
Yeah.
And apparently he's just the guy that's like, yeah, put whatever you want on there.
Okay.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
I'll give you data. Whether I get 20th or 18th,
Doesn't matter.
what does it matter
Yeah.
at this point?
Yeah.
And so you've got a guy that's just going all in on developing the motorcycle. And it's like that perspective and that mindset. I'm sure that would be
It's
very
tough.
hard for some
It's
races
tough
to get
for
to.
a racer because he's won races, and he's been there, and obviously the doors have opened and things change, and he's at where he's at. But it's also you got to make the best of where you're at in the current times, and I've had to learn that throughout my career also. Sometimes, a lot of times, you think the grass is always greener when wise man told me just water your own grass.
I was going to say the grass is greenest where you water it.
Yeah. So like you got to make the best of the situations that you're in, and it sounds like he's doing that and just trying to be better with what he's got.
And probably going to get some good job security out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there's so many times where, I mean, I'm sure Chase has been at those times. Like there's Guy at Prado has been in
Everyone's been at those times,
Yeah.
And
it's
you
just
also
like,
second guess the decision that you made. But you also need good people around you that can help steer you through those tough times.
yeah, navigate those
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
So this lasted 2 years?
Yeah. The program lasted longer, but after 2 years, they did the World Championships for 2 years. And it was crazy. Like, we'd go to Brazil, and people were looking at this bike, and they're like, what is this? And it's like, oh, it's an English company, a bike, because there's no rules. Like, for the people listening, like in MXGP, you can pretty much make a bike in your garden shed and go race it. There's no production rule like in the US. So, like, back then, Suzuki would have different engine cases and custom frames that come out the factory, like legit factory bikes. And yeah, you could do this and put an engine in a frame that's made in Bolton in England and go race it. And the rules were okay with that.
So you guys would like physically glue the frames together yourselves?
Yeah.
So the pieces would get individually machined?
Yep.
And then you would...
Glue them together, pin them together, and then they get baked. So they were set, and then we'd assemble the bikes.
What a trip.
Yeah. Crazy project. But it was really popular in England too. Remember when they unveiled the team? It was at the dirt bike show in England, and just the riders were there, the crew was there. Like they marketed it quite well.
It just doesn't really happen that much. Like I think... I don't think Ducati's got the credit it deserves this year.
The way they're doing it is the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into my current project, and it's just like, that's on a greater scale. Both sides of the pond, 250 class now in Europe and 450 class. And you're just like, someone's pulling the strings, and it's stressful.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
But I think that it's so underrated.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that it gets said enough how good Ducati has done. I don't think that a first-year 450 Supercross team should be as competitive as what they are.
Well, they obviously did their homework. On paper, yeah, they shouldn't be as competitive what they are, but obviously they dotted the I's and crossed the T's. The bike was probably, maybe they came in at the right time because the bike came in and it was competitive. Like, looking at Barcia, like, they almost win in heat races already, and he's been hurt most of the season. So
and Ferrandis has just had some incredible
some
rides.
fifth place on a bike like that. So
He was doing better on a first-year Ducati than he was on a fully developed Honda.
yeah, so it shows that their package is actually really competitive, and they did their homework. I mean, you don't have a guy like Caroli doing R&D for you for those amount of years, and it just
even
be terrible.
No Supercross.
Very true. Very true.
Like I just think it's so underrated how well they have done.
No, it is impressive
in Supercross, and it probably goes to show how good Factory Connection is
Absolutely.
at suspension.
But proven though, they had their Honda race
Geico,
team.
yeah.
Geico Honda. It was FC before, and just like it was, those are the days. We haven't got there yet, but when I was at Mitch's, and just like we're just head to head.
Yeah, legit.
And those days, Star was lower, right? And now Star have made the move, but it was back then. It was Honda and Mitch, you know, and it was just one was winning the championship, the other one was, and it was just they were good competitive equipment.
Well, and I mean, I remember going through that era, and it wasn't like in my head I was like factory connection suspension, and the factory connection people must be that good. Mm-hmm. But then this Ducati project has just made me think, dude, they must be unbelievably good because Caroli developed the bike, has never raced a season of Supercross in his life. And then you get Ferrandis and Barcia, who are developing that bike here for Supercross with factory connection and Showa, and they've just made a bike that is unreal. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching Ferrandis through the whoops at A1, and I wasn't blown away. Like the bike didn't look great. But then you fast forward maybe 3-4 rounds, completely different motorcycle. And there's been times where you watch that bike and it just looks as good, if not better, than bikes in the whoops, and you're just like, dude,
it's just
this
the
shouldn't
understanding.
happen.
It's like the Geico guys and like Ziggy. I've never worked with him, but obviously he's got a ton of knowledge and stuff, and he's proven it time and time again. So it seems like he was the right person for the project. Yeah. And obviously I take an interest because Barcia's there, and I worked with him for a number of years. So like wanted to see him have success also, and even picking his brain in the off season. I'm like, how you doing? You know, how is things? And he's like, actually, we're going to be pretty good. And you just don't know. You go in with a blank canvas, you know, like those riders went in with that, with the unknowns, kind of like the same we did with this project here.
Yeah. Are you hearing who's going there next year? Are you hearing any rumors?
No, I haven't heard much yet. It just happens earlier and earlier every year. Like my phone's ringing and I'm like, we haven't even done a finished Supercross yet.
yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I want to at least do a couple motocross races and see where everyone fares up before pulling the trigger on anything, you know?
I'm hearing some crazy names to Ducati.
Really?
Yeah. What's the public? Do you know any public names to Ducati linked yet?
I mean, they're owned by Audi, right? They're checkbooks.
But apparently they're not spending that much cash.
Okay.
Apparently, because that's what I thought, and I think that's what a bunch of people would have thought, that they just come in swinging their cock around. But apparently...
Like Ganassi Racing and Troy Lee are dumping more money in it than Ducati is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked for Troy, you know, like, and it's his marketable project. Like, he loves having a race team.
He loves it.
Like, loves it. Like, the passion there is like, for having a race team is like the passion I have. We used to work on them and now being around it, you know, and it just wants to have a race team, and you got to respect that because we need more people like that.
Well, definitely. So you do the 2 years, then you just want to stay in the GP. So where did you go after that?
So I just pretty much, I remember the conversation, and Dave was like, we're not going to do GPs next year. We're going to stay in England. We'd like to keep you. And I just rolled the dice on myself. I said, nope. I can't remember how old it was. Early 20s, mid 20s or whatever.
You kind of can make those decisions at that age.
Yeah, there's no responsibilities, right? Don't own a house, don't have a chick, just love traveling the world, right? Working on dirt bikes. And I was like, no, I'm not done doing MXGP. And I thought that if you stepped away, it would be hard to get back into it. So I was just like, no, I'll figure something out. So I just started calling some people, asking around. And then I ended up actually going to Belgium and talking with Jackie Martins.
Yeah.
So like we'll get to this story, like how our paths crossed too. But so I spoke with Jackie. It was to work, live in Belgium. So he was living in Lommel. The shop was in Lommel. So he wasn't the factory team, but he was like they called him the Red Bull Juniors. Like Hurlings went through it. Tixier came through his team and stuff before they went to the factory team. So he would do like the Belgium championships, Dutch championships, and MXGP. Because he had a MX3 team. And he did the world championships for MX3 when it was separate to MX1 and MX2. So he had a good relationship with KTM. So he offered me a job, and I was like, yep, let's go there. So I packed up my shit, drove from England to Belgium, rented an apartment, didn't speak the language, didn't have no friends, just got stuck in. That was a tough year.
I bet.
Tough year.
Tough off season in the winter.
Tough off. Cold. I've seen fuel freeze on the ground, you know, in Lommel. It's been so cold. Just there's a reason why they ride at 130 in Europe, right? Because you got to let the ground dry out. You wouldn't have thought sand could freeze, but it does.
That's insane, dude.
Get back to the shop. It's dark at 4 o'clock. You're washing the bike. Just had to have indoor wash bays because the pipes would freeze.
No way.
Yeah, it was eye-opening. Then you have to head south. You go to Spain in the winter, Italy, but then you're chasing the weather. It still rains down there, you know, so it's just mud days, 4 days a week, 5 days a week.
Bro, the GPs are built different.
Oh, yeah. It's no hotels. It's staying in the semi or driving the Sprinter behind the semi. Everyone bunks up in the semi. You eat in the semi. You sleep in the semi. Shit in the semi. No hotels. So here, like, it's almost glamorous. We fly in, we stay in hotels, we fly out. But there, you're away. You're in that trailer for 3 weeks if you go to 3 GPs in a row. Or you go testing for a month, you're in there for a month.
Is it still like that?
I believe, yeah. A lot of my friends that I worked with at the time have moved on. Some went MotoGP, some went home. It's a younger crowd now, I think, like it is here. But I believe it's still the same.
Man, that's brutal.
Yeah, but when you're young, you don't care.
Yeah.
We just did it.
Oh, man, the stuff we used to do even on, like, the filming side of things when
definitely.
we were young. Like, even when I started this podcast, I was like, the shit that I would go, the lengths that I would go to do it. I look now and I'm like, I don't know that I could do that again.
Yeah, but now you got the studio and it's all bitching, like, with everything set up. But back then, you just probably did it in a camper.
Oh,
you
man,
just make do. Just
whatever.
In a tent if you had to, you know, just to make some content.
Yeah, whatever it takes. But yeah, once you start to work your way up, you look back and you're like, how? How did I do that?
Well, like, if I had a do-over, probably wouldn't do it.
Well, would you go back and do that first year in Belgium right now?
Yep.
That's so savage.
But knowing where it's brought me.
Yeah.
100%.
No, I mean, as you right now.
As I am right now, thought about it, you know.
Like imagine
Maybe.
going back there, not speaking the language, like just throwing yourself in the way that you have
I think I'd rather do that than like go work in Home Depot.
Yeah, fair.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's bikes for me. It always will be.
Yeah.
So like if that was the only opportunity that I had, you just look at the positives and just do it. Make it happen. Yeah.
So did you end up learning the language at all?
No.
Yeah.
No. But everyone spoke English. So like obviously Jackie was from Belgium. The crew chief was from Belgium. Worked with some French mechanics. And it kind of...
So they all kind of converge on
pretty
English.
much, yeah. But like when you drive into like, say, Belpuig, which is like 12-hour drive to the MXGP, and you got 2 French guys and me, they ain't speaking English.
Nah.
You just sat there and it's like...
Yeah.
No iPhones at the time, you know?
Yeah.
A flip phone, so you're not scrolling Instagram or anything like that. You're just like, okay, cool.
Fuck, the world was so different.
Yeah. But even then, like, we'd build our bikes on the road like they do now, or we'll just pin it back in the sprint. We drove to Moscow once.
Really?
MXGP, yeah.
How was that?
No, that one was cool. Just another good experience, you know. Just had to get your visas. You had to pre-apply because it's not part of the European Union. Hopefully they stamp your passport. Had to send the passport. Everyone got approval. We just loaded up the Sprinter. We didn't take the semi because some people did. We were just like, nah, we're gonna go Sprinters and easy ups, and we just put bunk beds in one Sprinter so we could drive, and then the other Sprinter took the bikes, and we just pinned it. It was interesting. It was before the Formula 1 days in Russia, so the roads weren't like perfectly paved, and it was just some semis that went, they had big cracks out the windows because of the flexing on the trailer because the roads were so bad and stuff like that.
Really?
It was...
What do you
it was
remember
cool.
from the country?
Just plain open space. You drive like 4 hours, see no one. Then like you come across to this little town, this little village with skyscrapers, like massive skyscrapers. Nothing else. Then 4 more hours, nothing.
Really?
One gas station in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours away from anything. And I'm like, where are all these people? And we didn't even get that far in. We were only a couple hours past Moscow. So like, imagine going to like China.
Dude, crazy, eh?
Yeah,
It's the craziest country in the world.
Yeah.
Like, that's where my wife's from.
Yep, I know.
And so it's like,
yeah.
dude, I want to go there so bad, but now it's just not.
Yeah,
You just
the
kinda-
time is not great. You know?
Yeah, you just kind of can't. But like, man, it is when you look at the history as well. Like, I've learned so much history over the last however many years.
Yeah.
What an insane country.
Yeah.
That must have just been a crazy experience.
Yeah, and even I remember we stopped in Moscow to stay the night or just to see. And it was a long time ago now, probably like 15 years that I was there. But like when the Europeans come to Vegas or something, they're like, this place is massive. And you stand on the strip and you look up. And I'm like, from what I remember of Moscow was like the biggest buildings I've ever seen in my life. Just, I remember being on the road and you just look up and you're like, what the it's unbelievable.
Did you go to the Red Square or anything like that?
I don't think so. Nah,
Yeah.
I wish I did. Like, still, I was just young and we were just like, let's go get a beer.
Yeah.
You know, not like now. It'd be like, oh, let's just hit something nostalgic and like historical.
Yeah.
But back then it was like, we had a night off, we would drink it.
It was sending it with the boys.
Yeah. So
Oh.
it was different times.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember when I first came here, I drove across the US. We went from California to Georgia. Me, Ryan Walters, and Tyler Barron.
Okay. Yeah.
No Instagram.
Yeah. That conversation was good with them boys, though, huh?
Oh, fucking wild. But like, man, it was just, we drove the whole way across the country
Yeah.
and like no Instagram, no nothing.
Yeah.
Like
So
I was
you're looking out the
editing
window. Yeah.
Yeah, I was editing some videos. Like I was sitting in the backseat editing videos.
Yeah.
But there was just like, there just wasn't, social media just wasn't the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
thing that it is now.
Yeah. But even like doing the MXGP stuff, it was like a lot of the mechanics, you could go to like the Nazi prisoner war camps and stuff after Germany and things like that. Or you just drive through like, we've driven through Romania, Bulgaria, Lithuania, like all these third world countries, and you see like tanks, probably from World War II,
Yeah.
just not moved, horse and cart. And it's just, I remember being in the Bulgarian Grand Prix and we'd go for a run. We were into fitness back then, and you run down the street and they're plowing their fields with horses. And this was like 2015.
Dude.
Yeah. Or earlier than that, 2010 probably. But it's cool to see, you know?
Yeah.
And I even tell the boys here, like, if you guys ever want to do a year in MXGP, I can make it happen.
Yeah. Do you think that's like easy is probably not the right word, but you think like, say, like one of your guys could go and do a season in the GPs?
I think so. Yeah. One of my guys for sure, because I can work him pretty hard. So, but like I wouldn't make them do anything that I've never done before, you
Yeah.
know? So I think they should to experience what it's like here.
Yeah.
I did it the right way, I think. I did it that way, and then you come here for the glamour of Supercross and hotels and airplanes and stuff like that. But back
Yeah.
there, it's rain and fields and 4 days at the track and drive everywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny that you say that, right? Because you can see, like, look at Jet and Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they did it tough. They did the EMX.
Yep.
Like, Jet's been in Lommel
The
since
right
he was
way.
on an 80.
Yep.
And then you get to the US and you're just so prepared. And then you look at so many of the guys. Like, there's not many guys that have come over from the GPs that didn't find success.
Yeah.
Really?
Ferrandis.
Ferrandis?
Rattray was good.
Yep.
You know, Swanee.
Yep.
Like, they were more my era, too. Like, I was mechanicing when they were racing. And then, like, Porcel, he came back.
Yep.
He came back here.
Yep.
So, like...
Vial?
Yeah, Tom, too. Yeah.
Like, there's really hasn't been many people. I can't think of any that they've come over. They were good in the GPs and they didn't make it in the US. Like, there is something to that whole experience. And it's, you went through that.
Yeah.
The mechanic version of that.
I
you
was,
know?
yeah. Textbook mechanic version.
And it got you here with a certain set of skills that became very valuable to this industry.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember I was still with Mitch, just getting further ahead, but TK would always talk to me, and he was the manager of Troy Lee KTM at the time, and he's like, I want European mechanics. He's like, who do you know that would come over? He goes, I want like mud skills. I want mud prep information. I want to know, just to broaden his knowledge of what goes on over there. And he'd always ask me that. It's like, I want a different outlook, or someone how they look at it a little differently.
Yeah.
He'd always ask that.
Yeah, and even bike setup, and I mean, especially outdoors here over the last 5-10 years, every track's the same.
Here, yeah.
Like, do you really have to set up a bike that differently track to track now?
Nah.
But for the GPs,
Yep. Well, we would when we would go to Lommel to race, we'd start riding sand 6 weeks before. So you might be coming back from Spain or France, which is hard pack, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to some sand track, Lommel itself, before it closes, or like Valkenswaard, Lierop, you're going to those tracks to start dialing in your sand setup, sand riding, just honing your skills for that. But then you'll be jumping back. You might go race, I don't know, in Portugal the next weekend. So like the prep for that, it took a while. And you knew a sand race was coming because everyone's in Belgium. Everyone's in Lommel.
Yeah.
You go into a sand track on a Tuesday and it's like a GP. It's just like Sunday GP.
Yeah. Well, and even, you look at guys like Porcel, you look at guys like, any of the French dudes.
Yeah.
The hard pack that they ride
Yeah.
is hard.
Oh, yeah.
Hard
Yeah.
pack. Like even what we would call hard pack here.
Here hard pack is Washougal. But it's no Saint Jean. It's no Ernay at the top after there's been a drought in Europe that summer. We'd ride some hard ones in Switzerland. There's some hard tracks. Unlike, you go to France to go practicing or training and stuff like that, and there's like 3 tires a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're just rinsing them.
It's almost like I can relate to like a burnt Corona Supercross test track now. Like the boys are riding today, and we've not had much rain of recent. So like you'll blow through some rubber, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's just a very normal. And they have the speed that some of those guys can carry around those tracks. Like, and you hear stories of local guys that might do 1 or 2 GPs. They're not even really professional racers.
Yeah.
But they can just smoke everyone.
Local knowledge, or just like dialing their bike in, or just being comfortable
Well, that's
on
the
those conditions, right?
Only thing they've ever ridden.
Yes.
And they're just getting like crazy lean angle.
Yep. Or they're backing it in supermoto style, and
Yeah.
that's the way it is. Or like you'll go to some of those tracks and there's just one line. Everyone's hitting the same line and it gets blue grooved. And like, especially when you go practicing on those tracks during the week,
Yeah.
the prep job's not ideal. It's not like a race prep.
Yeah.
So it's just blue groove, 6 inches of just optimum, and everyone's hitting it.
Man, everything in America is glamorous.
Yeah.
Even down to the track prep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I wanted to be here. You watch the Troy Adamitis videos, like the great outdoors, and I'm like, that's where I'm going. The gates lifting with air. The sprinklers are just hitting the track. I'm like, we ain't getting that in Europe.
So when did that enter your mind to come to the US, you reckon?
It was always in the back burner. Like, I remember having a Kawasaki 125, and I'm like, Ricky was racing the one here, and I was like, Dad, I want to make it look like Ricky's bike. So we powder coated the frame and did all that kind of stuff with the graphics and the pipe, and just tuned it. And I just started getting Racer X. My local dealer would have the Racer X's, so I was bringing them home, and it was just all America. Tiny little bit of European stuff, but we used to get that with the English magazines. So I got the best of both worlds. And I would cover to cover, a magazine was in the store.
Every day.
In the paper shop on the corner, I was in there. Every magazine you could get, I was getting. Posters on the wall, but more to look at the bikes. I didn't care what the riders, where they finished. It was more, look at that anodized piece, or like, what's that? Like a brake snake, or just, I didn't need a brake snake on my bike for like a schoolboy race on Sunday, but I did it.
Yeah.
So I knew I was getting into that side of it, and it was just, America looked cool. It just was different. It's like HD TV to a regular tube TV, right? And then you look at the HD, you're like, that's sick. And it was that, Europe and America. So it was almost like, one day, I'd like to get to the US.
So you make the jump to the GPs.
Yep.
And then it's not a full factory team. So how many years did you do there? What riders did you work with?
So it was, the first years was the Suzuki. So it was Jason Dugan.
Yep.
Won some British Championship races, top 10 in the world and stuff like that. So that was really cool. Did the CCM project, and then that stopped. So then I went to Jackie Martin's KTM, and I worked for Joel Roulance, it was like the Red Bull Juniors at the time. So it wasn't factory support at the time. So I worked for him for a year, which was tough when I didn't speak anyone's language and stuff. But it was, I made it work. I got pretty lonely, I'm not going to lie. Bit for sure homesick.
Yeah.
As we all do. But that was the first year that I was just like, I'm not sure if I want to do this, like lived in an apartment by myself, kind of got some friends within other teams, and then we started hanging out, and it became better. But then Jake Nichols was racing for KTM UK at the time.
Yep.
And he was going to get some factory support, so they put him at Jackie's team with factory engine. And I was on the team being English, and Jake was English, so it was perfect. They put us together. So then we had factory engine. I'd go to Austria and get the engines and put them together and stuff and build the bikes. Like, that's when we had the 4-speed transmission. And it was cool. It was like started in first. You had to click down to do starts and stuff like that. So that's when Tixier, I think, was on the factory team. He went to the Red Bull team.
Yeah, okay.
So I worked with Jake, but we had the same motors.
That's a bit of a blessing to get paired up with a UK rider at that point.
It made perfect sense, right? Yeah, and like again,
you were kind of struggling.
I was struggling mentally, being homesick and things like that. So then getting Jake, it was awesome because I get a cup of tea at his house. You know what I mean? Or bacon sandwich and stuff like that. So spent some time in England at his house because he has a sick track at his dad's house, you know. So got to spend some time there and just, it helped. It definitely prolonged my career for sure. Because at that point I was like, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
And my parents always have my back. They were just like, just keep it. Keep, like, you don't want to regret anything and do anything rational, right? So anyway, the Nichols thing came across my plate, and we did that for that year. And yeah, we went to Brazil, I think. We did all the MXGPs. Maybe, I can't remember. I'm terrible. I can tell you what gearing we ran at what GP, but I can't tell you his results.
Yeah.
I know the Fork preload, you know, but I don't remember where we finished. But we were battling for podiums. I think he might have been 3rd or 5th or 4th in the championship that year. So that was pretty cool.
And then, so where did you go from there?
So there it was pretty much, it was the donations at Lommel, and Jake was there racing for Team GP. And the years previous, obviously, I knew I wanted to be in America, and I would always send resumes to everyone, you know, in the US. Like, some of the really nice people, like J-Bone, would always reply, not looking for a mechanic, but thanks for your resume and stuff like that. Like, and actually, going a little back, we came to, when I worked for Roulance the year before, we came to Glen Helen and did the MXGP, and we worked at the JDR semi, which you were a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So Nate was there, team
Was
manager.
that 15?
No, earlier.
12?
12. 11.
11.
MXGP, Glen Helen. No one turned up, by the way. It was
No.
like ghost
I
town.
remember that.
Do you go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I worked out of that semi, so because
That's a trip, dude.
So the Vince, crew chief,
Yes.
who's now team manager of Triumph in Europe,
Yep.
worked for Jackie at KTM when they did MX3. So he was a mechanic for Jackie back in the 2000s.
No
Obviously, then
way.
came here and worked here at PC and stuff like that. So then he was running the JDR program that
Yeah.
you were a part of.
Yeah.
So that's how our paths kind of crossed, but we never really got to meet.
No way.
So we worked there with Vince and did the race and stuff. And Vince knew Jackie, and then we just hit it off. And I said to Vince, I don't want to go home. I said, how do I stay? He was like, all right, let me see what I can do. Tried, obviously. We kept in contact. We swapped numbers. And he's like, there's a lot of people on our program with visas, so it's going to be very hard to get you a visa. So if you want to come here, you got to figure out your own visa. So then I started working on visa stuff and just figuring out what I got to do, how much it's going to cost and stuff. Because I'm like, I do not want to go back to Europe. This is sick. The semi's massive, you know.
Yeah.
Like now I take it for granted, but it was just completely different. And so that was that year, and then I stayed at Jackie's to work with Jake the following year. But the resumes I was sending, and
You'd kind of got a nibble.
I got a contact. It was Vince, you know, and it was just
He's
like,
the best, by the way.
unbelievable.
He is such a legend, dude.
You need to get him in here. You
Oh
know?
my God.
But so Vince helped out a lot, and our paths crossed a lot in Europe too. And I would always just contact him, hey, is there anything for the following year? And he's like, no, like our visas, we're spending so much money on visas, we can't add another one. So I was like, oh, I understand. So then I did Jake the following year at Jackie Martin's, and then it was just that. So then that year they came to France for the donations too.
Yep.
Vince came for Team Australia.
Yeah, Mossy raced
Yeah,
that year.
so
They
Mossy
got
raced,
podium.
right? Yep, exactly. Mossy had a problem with his bike after the sight lap, and I gave Vince a TPS. Vince changed the TPS in the mechanics area after sight lap in the second moto.
No
And then
way.
Mossy went out, yeah, because we were lined up next to each other. Yeah, it was the first year they ejected KTM.
Yeah.
So
2012, eh?
So that was Saint Jean, I think.
Yeah.
So I gave him a TPS, and he was like, So I was like, oh, I helped him out. That was sick.
Dude, that was our first ever podium.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So I was there
Motocross
for that.
Nations.
Okay.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's a small world how it goes
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
now.
yeah.
So then that was cool. And then just kept in contact for that, you know. And then I was like, anything in the US? And he was like, Pro Circuit might be looking. Because that was the year Dino left to go do his 450 program. So he took Paul Parabinos with him. And then Baggett's guy, Sean, went to Geico. So they lost 2 mechanics that one year. So I'm like, that might double my chances of an opportunity. Just shooting in the dark, to be honest. Sent Mitch a resume or whatever. We went to the donations at Lommel, and I had a mutual friend with Mitch who I didn't know they were that mutual. And I said to him, he drove for Honda in Europe. Anytime Pro Circuit came to the Motocross of Nations, he would just be Mitch's driver, bodyguard. He just built up a good relationship with him over the years. So we had that mutual friend, and I was like, hey, I heard PC need 2 mechanics. Go see what you can find out. He goes, no problem. And then he came back a couple hours later. He goes, yep, they need 2 mechanics. And I told Zach, who was the boss, like manager, crew chief at the time, you're the best guy for the job. And I'm like, perfect, thank you. And then didn't really follow it up too much, but we did the race. Everyone ended up in the after party. You know, it's like dancing on tables and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up bumping into Zach, and we had a good conversation that night. To this day, I don't really know what we spoke about. But 2 days later, I had a phone call from a Corona, California number, and it was Mitch. And I was like,
unreal.
Unbelievable, right? It's just, again, right place, right time.
Yeah, putting yourself out there.
My friend put us together a little bit, and it was like, I was in Belgium. It was dark, you know, just chilling by myself. And you look at this, and you're like, no way. No way. So I'm like, okay, hello? He's like, Mitch Payton. I'm like, surreal, right?
Yeah,
and,
dude.
Like, I've been one of my biggest heroes my whole entire life. Everyone wants to get that call, and it was my turn. He was like, I need a mechanic. Heard you could be the one for the position. When can you get here? I said, contract's not up yet. Let me see what I can do. He goes, well, that's not good enough because we need to start riding Supercross. And I was like, let me see what I can do. Called my old man. I was like, what do I do? He's like, just go tomorrow. I was like, okay. So it was kind of dirty the way I did it, but I just put all my shit in my van, drove to Heathrow Airport. Mom and Dad met me there. I was like, all right. I didn't even go home. I just got on a plane. I said to Mitch, I'll be in your office in 2 days. And he was like, yeah, right, whatever. And then went into his office. He was like, holy, serious?
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, give me 2 weeks. If I'm not what you want, I'll go home. Don't matter. Just give me 2 weeks. And then obviously, rest is history.
Unreal.
Crazy story, huh?
That's awesome. Because, you hear the stories of the riders getting that phone call.
Absolutely.
Like Nick Romano.
Yeah.
Was just in here the other day. Was just telling that story. And it's like, he has such an aura. Like, he is a very special person.
Absolutely.
And it's like, you see that number pop up on your phone and you know who it's going to be. And
had to be. Like, after the conversation 3 days later, it was like, it ain't no spam call, you know?
Yeah. But it's like the riders are waiting for that phone call. But for you, like,
Some don't
this
ever get
is
it.
your factory contract, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was confident enough in my ability and my skills. I was just like all in. I was like, I'm a good mechanic, you know? And it's just like, give me this opportunity and I'll prove to you that I can do it.
So what were those 2 weeks like?
Oh, gnarly. It was like day one. It was just like, Paul Parabinos was there. He kind of took me under his wing, like championship mechanic.
He's
just
a legend of a guy
awesome,
too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Such a good friend now, you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah, he's the
unbelievable.
best.
And just like, here's the transmission. And you're like, I've heard rumors of this transmission back in Europe, you know?
So what year was this?
End of 12.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. October 13th, 2012. Yeah. Yeah. And it was just like, all right, I dressed nice. I had the button up and stuff like that. And then it was like, all right, go work.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then Zach was like, hey, you got any tools? I'm like, no. He goes, okay. Well, Paul was like, hey, use my race tools. You need 2 sets in the US. And I'm like, oh, you do? So I was like, Dad, send me my tools. So it was like in a box, got over here, just work.
Wow. So he goes, yep, this is a transmission. And you're like looking at this thing being like, this is
Oh, I've seen transmissions, but not one like this.
Really?
Yeah. It was just, Pro Circuit is just the best equipment, you know, and it was just the rumors that you hear. It was just that and more. I was like a kid in a candy store, I swear.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, what were those first 2 weeks like? What were you doing?
Just helping in the shop. I actually built the Baggett Champ bike because he won the Nationals that 2012 season. So my first job was to build the Champ bike that went in the showroom. And it was perfect. So you like pull the parts, you assemble it, you get to know the Cowie because I didn't have Cowie experience, right? I'd only ever worked on that.
You 125.
My 125 when I was 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I worked on that, Suzuki and KTM. But I was just like, it's nuts and bolts. They all got the same nuts and bolts. Everything's in the same spot. I said, I can learn it. I'll figure it out. So I think that kind of went a long way too, because you got to learn to be able to adapt. So, and working on a stock Cowie and working on a Pro Circuit Cowie, which I later found out was two different things.
Very, very
You know,
different.
It's green. That's about it.
Yeah,
You know, at the time they were black, but yeah. So I was building there, like, did some cam timing, some engine assembly and stuff like that, which I was real confident because when we were back in Europe, we were always building our own engines. Like you're assembling an engine in the back of a semi. You know, like I said, most years you pull the top end off of the early 4-stroke days. You pull the top end off after Saturday practice, and you check the valves for leaking. You check the valve springs. You might put rings on the pistons. So that was normal for me to be able to assemble a motor. Like that year, we were doing cam timing ourselves. So for me to come over here and do cam, I'd touch base on it all before. You know? So like for me to get up to speed on motors was pretty easy. Just the way they wanted them assembled. That's all I needed to learn.
Yeah, like they have a spec sheet.
Yep.
You follow the spec sheet.
Yep. You put this together, you get the crank from him. He'll build your crank. He checks your piston. Like you just put it together, you know, and then you do the cam time in and you get it double checked for a couple times. And then I'm like, no, you got it. Just put them together.
Yeah, okay. And would you say that's not common for most guys over here at the start or?
A lot of places now, every team has engine builders.
Yeah.
And I think they probably do in Europe now at the higher level. But here, I think there's a lot of companies now that build engines for people at the lower level too. And it's also consistency. I think it goes back to everyone wants to be this mechanic with the pit board and the pit shirt and stuff like that because it looks glamorous, but then you can't do it all either here. I think you can build your engines and go to the track every day and just get it all done to the level that it needs to be. So I think
it like takes too many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have designated engine person just controlling that,
yes,
it helps keep the secrets too. Otherwise, you got a lot of these kids that know what goes on in there, and you're like, well, loose lips, you know, and not that it's apples to apples, but it can affect.
Dude, so Star, no one has the keys.
No,
one guy.
I'm sure, yeah.
One guy
Yeah.
has all the keys to the castle. There's no one there that knows. It's fucking crazy. That blew my mind when I found that out. That it's like, yeah, man, if stops with him.
I mean, then if something gets out, then you know where it come from.
Well, yeah. Well, it's never getting
No,
out because
exactly.
that guy ain't saying shit
No, I
ever.
know. Taking that to his grave.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense now that someone told me that, but I wouldn't have thought that that's how it would be. Because even like in our operation, right? Like one guy does this, one guy does this. Like no one does everything.
You can't.
Because you can't.
Yeah.
There's once you start scaling
Yeah.
past a small point, then it takes a team and everybody has to have these roles. And it's actually like one of the mistakes I made in business early on was trying to have people that just did everything from start to finish. And it was a good lesson to learn. My producer now, Ethan, I didn't hire him for like a year because he couldn't edit videos.
Okay. Oh, so you were like,
And I was like, you're fucking useless. Like if you can't make the videos, then I don't have anything for you.
Yeah.
But it turns out that by him not making videos, it upped our productivity by...
he could specialize on what he was good at and raise that bar.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that just makes total sense.
Yeah.
That comes across to a race team.
Yeah.
And then you can just have, I guess, lower level is maybe not the right way to say it, but you've got guys where it's just like assembly.
Yeah.
You're bolting the motor that's already complete. and the suspension that's already complete.
But it's still a high stressful
For sure.
job as itself to keep that bike going. You know, like you
Yeah.
got to go to the track with your guy and maintain it. You got to keep him safe at the end of the day because it's in your hands. You know, so it's a lot of pressure of that, and you can just specialize in that, and it's still you still need it. You know, and it's created jobs, I think, because you need the engine guy, you need the suspension guy. It's just efficiency and control, I think.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. Have you ever really thought about hydration? I bet you haven't, but I have, and that's why I am on a mission to hydrate action sports with my new company, SOTA Fuel. You can look at any study. Hydration is one of the key factors in human performance. And action sports is about as high performance as it gets, and there are extreme consequences to not being locked in. Find out more about how important hydration is for you, and if you're leaving performance on the table, by heading to sotafuel.com. So, the first little bit, when do you get your own rider at Pro Circuit?
It was after a little bit. So I got Justin Hill. So he moved up from the amateurs, which I didn't follow any amateur stuff in the US when we were in Europe. Again, the internet wasn't that big. Now everyone knows who everyone is. On a Super Mini, you know who that is in Europe and stuff. But back then, so I got Justin for my first year because obviously I was rookie mechanic in the US and he was a rookie rider. So Mitch paired us together. So, and he broke his wrist like the first week. He started riding.
Fuck.
So I was like,
He was so good.
yeah,
He was so fast.
still is.
I
Yeah.
mean, he still
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
But man, his career definitely didn't reach its peak.
Absolutely
like his
not.
ceiling,
Yeah.
just with like little injuries, some team changes and
Yeah.
things like that. Because man, he's talented. Look
Yeah.
at what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Like bike skills was really impressive, you know, but I had to learn the US way of riding Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And it wasn't quite like that in Europe, you know. And
What was the schedule more like in Europe?
in Europe, we'd do a lot of Mondays, but we would test a lot of GP tracks on a Monday. So, because we would stay away, we would race on Sunday and the track would be open on Monday, Tuesday. So we would ride race bikes Monday, Tuesday
Really?
and just do testing and ride there and then rebuild them on Wednesday, Thursday and go on to the next race. But riders would drive to the races in their campers and like sometimes have a practice bike or ride the race bike. So it was more availability.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to drive through Switzerland. I'm going to hit this track on Thursday. Then I'm going to drive to the GP. So they might ride one day a week during the week. But here it was like, oh no, 4 days a week, wide open.
I remember when Ty Simmons came over.
Yeah.
He was just like, dude,
Yeah.
this is fucking. All he wanted to do was just ride every single day
Okay.
and do no off the bike training.
Yeah. Yeah.
was-
It doesn't work.
There was like a whole. Nate was just like, no, you have to do this, this, and this, and
Yeah.
then you got to go to your trainer. There was like such a system.
Yeah.
In the US.
Very structured.
Yeah, and he was just like, this ain't it, bro.
Yeah. And it was more loose, I think, in Europe, or just each guy had their own structure figured out.
Yeah.
You know, like I became good friends with Sean Simpson, and he would just live in his camper and be like, I'll drive to this track. I'll ride this track. Maybe go on a bicycle ride during the week, and that's it. Like
Billy McKenzie's similar program.
Billy's program was unique. Yeah. But if you went to Japan to race, he was winning both motos.
What was the deal, dude? He literally, the 2 times they raced, they won both motos, both times.
Yeah. Jokingly, we said that it was because of his time schedule, because he wouldn't go to bed the earliest in Europe. So, like, he was on
just like
Japan time.
Yeah, he was on Japan time
the
forever.
whole time. So he goes to Japan. He's like, he
Home
wasn't
race.
jet lagged or tired. So, like, it was like,
Dude.
he just, whatever he did there, no matter what bike he rode, he just crushed it.
Mate, Billy McKenzie, I don't think I've ever said this. So when I was working for a magazine for Yuriv Konski, actually.
Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck this. Hated him, hated the job, hated all of it. And I was like, there's no like Verb Moto in Australia. So I'm going to start the Verb Moto of Australia. Called it MX Daily. Started going to the races. But I never filmed. We never had a video camera. We never even had a photo camera when we were kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, I am going to be a
This is what I wanna do.
filmmaker
Yeah.
because I'm not going to race moto. I'm not good enough. I hated working for this magazine.
Yeah.
bought a camera and a tripod on a credit card, and then just started going to the races filming. Billy McKenzie paid me $250 a weekend or something to make edits for him back in 2008.
So that was when he moved there after
Yep.
his GP stuff, and just
Yep.
went, that's when Australia was kind of popping. Like
It
people
was
were
popping.
doing that. They were leaving Europe.
Well,
to go
Brad
race.
Anderson.
Yeah. Oh, Brad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, he left England to go there.
Yeah,
Stuart Flockhart came down for a little bit, I think, too.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It wasn't for long. I think he got hurt, but I knew him pretty well before he left. But yeah,
Yeah.
Brad Anderson came for a bit too.
Dude, Billy was
there.
Billy was unreal, and he was smoking everybody.
His
And then-
level was good because he won GPs.
but then everyone just
Leveled
started to
up.
rise up. You know, man, he was such an individual guy, though. I mean, he used to park at the airport and then follow people. Man, the amount of tickets and fines and shit he would have in Australia,
Wow.
he was a very, very.
I'll
unique
get
guy.
some hate for saying this, but he's Scottish,
Yeah,
like Dean.
yeah.
Same.
Tight, watertight.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
Dude, it was a trip. But I mean, to his credit, he was the first rider that was said, I want video recaps made of every race.
Well, perfect. It was an opportunity. For you.
2008, man.
Yeah.
That's nearly 20 years ago. And he was thinking in that way.
That's cool.
But
Gave you your opportunity.
I remember he'd never swung a golf club in his life, right?
Yeah.
So you know Troy Carroll?
Yeah. Oh, I know of him.
him,
I've
yeah.
never really met him.
So
yet.
he went over to race for his
Yeah.
team. So we had one day before one of the races where we all went and played golf. Billy McKenzie never swung a golf club in his life,
Yeah.
right? There's some dudes probably 280 yards down the track, middle of the fairway, and there was a big group of us. And Billy's like, "Oh, well, I'll go first then, because, you know, well, I'm obviously not going to hit, he probably won't even hit the ball." And I was like, yeah, fucking send it. Bro, driver sends it, hits a dude in the middle of the back. Bro, drops this guy. First time he's ever swung a golf club in his life. Didn't even hit the ball for the rest of the day.
Oh, really? Just one and done.
Bro, no, he was swinging and couldn't even hit the ball.
Yeah. The
It
only
was the
time he connected.
craziest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Sometimes you can't make that up, huh?
Bro, and then after that, he swung and wasn't even hitting the ball. I'm like, dude, there is no way that just have dropped this guy. Dead center of the fairway, probably 280 yards away.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. How do we get on to Billy McKenzie?
No, I don't know.
So Justin Hill
Yeah, Justin
started
Hill.
working with Justin, breaks his wrist first week.
Breaks his wrist first week. So then I just started. It helped me learn, actually get up to speed. So Mitch had Tedesco as a test rider.
Yep.
So went to the track with Ivan because we didn't really have a specific test mechanic. So it was like the extra guy.
Yep.
So I went with Ivan. I mean, then Rattray and Davalos were West Coast.
Yep.
So I would go to the track for their mechanics when the mechanics were building their engines. So
It's probably a pretty good little early, like easy
it
introduction.
helped me so much, right? So like I was testing with Marty, Ivan, and Rattray for like the whole of the West Coast swing. So it helped me a lot because Rattray's world champion,
Yeah.
Tedesco American champion,
Yeah.
Motocross and Nations champion, and then Davalos just heat race champion of the world, right?
That's funny. You're gonna say.
Yeah. So it was really cool to learn the crew, and like Bones was the suspension guy, and I was a sponge.
Yeah.
I just wanted to take it all in. And then Dean came back because he left. So Paul came back with Dean because they did that 450 program that fell on its face pretty early.
Yep.
So then Dean was going to ride East Coast Supercross, and Justin rode East Coast Supercross too. So he was back for that. So then we went race on the East Coast.
And how was that experience at the
It
races for the first time?
It was unbelievable. So for me, it was always wanted to be a mechanic at Supercross, and to roll out, I was just like unbelievable. Like I'd been to Nomura as a mechanic, you know, and all these Lommel and just all these nostalgic
Iconic
places.
places.
Oh, and still they were awesome for me every time. It was like I went to Nomura, you know, like that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
people never heard of that, but you should Google Nomura.
Yeah, pull up Namur. Namour, Belgium.
It's like
Namour,
it's
Belgium.
for the guys at home, it's just like a off-road track pretty much. And there's some nostalgic stuff from like the 80s where one of the riders.
Go
there's a,
motocross track.
there's a
sorry.
pub right next to the track, and one of the riders pulled over and took a beer and still won the race.
Dude.
Like back in the 80s, they were animals.
I remember watching, the Stefan Everts. You used to get the MXGP, like the bar to bar of the GPs.
Yeah,
Dude, was just the most cool, crazy shit.
yeah. Look at
Yeah,
that.
look.
So this was like the Citadel, right? So
Oh
I believe
my
it was like, look
God.
at it. Then the track went up the side. So I believe it was the Nazis took it over in World War II or something like that, and it was their base.
Really?
With Hitler, yeah. But like, look at it. I mean,
It's
a bit
so cool.
Yeah, went way back. So like, it was pretty sick. But you saw the riders for like 10 seconds. They did the start, they
Go
did
to
one
that
loop,
one.
and they disappear.
Yeah, that one there. With like, there you go. There's the pubs and everything in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
See if you can find some videos of it. It was unbelievable.
But it was more
man.
like an off-road race, right? So they're riding between the trees and just they disappear for 3 minutes.
Go
and then they come back.
not 90. Go to that one down the bottom. 1991 500.
Yeah,
I mean, this is
500 two-strokes.
what a crazy deal. I wonder, is it still there?
The track probably no one rides there anymore. The first year I went was the last year at the brakes.
Yeah, of course. Of
At the
course.
bar. Yeah,
Yeah, let's watch a bit of a lap.
like this is the only part you could see when you're a mechanic, right? They jumped out, went around the flat pieces, and then disappeared. It was more of an enduro, really.
Yeah,
But the steep drops and stuff, and then
yeah.
between the trees.
Pantilla, number 16. Great ride for him so far. Then it's Boonen. Johan Boonen, 23. Riding the
Dude, what a
Kurt
trip.
KTM.
I want to just see some of those hill
The
sections.
rest of the pack come through. There is Joe Bay. There is Lyles.
But like, yeah, it would have been a
Yeah, that's right. They went on the road.
yeah.
He knows the track.
Man, incredible.
You wouldn't have a track like that these days, huh?
Conquest, stop for that beer.
It's
This
almost like the
is-
Elsinore. It's almost like the Elsinore Grand Prix when they rip
Yeah.
down the road. Yeah.
This is iconic, dude.
They must be doing 60 or more miles per hour.
Yeah, 502.
Yeah.
But they did it. Yeah, so it was the 450s and stuff. So yeah, Everts would have raced there.
Yeah,
on,
I remember
L&M
watching-
Yamaha. So I mechanic there. Yeah, the last year we were there.
They wait expectantly.
Yeah, click on somewhere up here.
And you can tell that he's
So cool.
down through the dust. They all go.
Yeah.
I wish.
And like the
Something
semis
like
were
this
just
could
parked in the
exist.
road. We just parked the semis in the road, like just in front of someone's house. And like you're like, oh, you can't put that there because they need to get on their driveway. It's like, but they loved it. Yeah.
There's Martins.
Yeah, Jackie Martins.
At the
Yeah.
moment, really just has to hang on.
How cool.
Number
Yeah.
13, that's Joe
This was
Martins.
peak,
And bear in
dude.
mind
Yeah.
that these riders
As they
are
say
battling
these
for the
days.
top 8 to be automatically
Yeah,
second
look
in
at that.
1992.
But even here, you're at just because Chad Reed raced it when he was
Yeah.
Jan de Groot Cowie. So like,
Walter Bartolini on the Husaberg, the 4-stroke, and the only
Yeah, I mean, that's just so
and you know
cool.
everything's steeper there than it is on TV.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's
you
pretty much
can't
just straight up, eh?
Walk down that stuff.
From number 85, that's Ronnie
Yeah.
Foster.
Cool.
Unreal. Pause
But
that.
yeah, I got to go there, you know. So like that's nostalgic in itself. But then I don't know, pushing your bike out on the floor at Supercross with all the people and the fireworks and stuff, it's nothing like that. I was like, now I made it. Almost brought a tear to my eye, you know, and then it's just like, all right, we got sight lap, we better get on the gate.
All right, crack on.
Yeah, no,
you get a couple
business,
of minutes.
business as usual.
Yeah.
So that was, it's Supercross, you know. And even I remember my first year, my parents came to watch Vegas, and it so happened to be my birthday that weekend. And Hill got hurt again during the season, but Bowers came as a fill-in rider.
Yep.
So I worked for Bowers that year, and he won Vegas. So I won a race in my first year, right? And coming back after, it tears me up right now, the emotions and stuff. And my mom and dad were like, now we get it. Now we get it. And I'm like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
winning Vegas on my birthday, my first year there, I was just like, tick.
Yeah, and just the
just-
years of sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly.
And passion
Looking
and-
back of being like, not depressed, but homesick in Belgium with no friends and stuff like that, not speaking the language. And then speed up 2.5 years later, you're just like, worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yeah, we'd do it all over again.
Yeah. It was awesome.
So how were those next couple of years at Pro Circuit? Because I feel like you became, I remember knowing you as a mechanic, and there's a lot of mechanics that you don't know.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you ended up being, I mean, Paul, I think, was the same. You get like the Mike Gosselers, and you get now you've got like a Jay Dungy.
I mean, even to put my name in the bracket of them, it's humbling, you know. Like I looked up to them guys and the Mike Gosselers. Like now I'm a friend, you know, and it's just like
What a G,
pinch
dude.
me, you know, like
yeah.
pinch me. And even Paul, like he helped me so much when I came over. Like, hey, do it like this, build your bike like this. Even at the time, one of my real close friends now, actually, I spoke to him on the phone yesterday, was John Mitchell.
Okay.
Like Villo's mechanic.
Yeah.
And like he was not working on the race team, he was more R&D, but he would come over and just be like, hey, do this today, otherwise you're gonna get your ass chewed. I'm like, thank you. And then the next day he's like, yeah, you should probably start putting your race bike together, otherwise you're gonna get your ass chewed. And I'm like, okay, just whatever they said, just took it in, you know, and just the respect I had and still have for those people, it goes a long way, you know. Like they were my heroes and then became friends. And just, so for me to be even considered, my name to be mentioned with those kind of people, it's I'm lost for words, you know.
It's cool though, and that there is some guys where you know, like I don't even know what it is, but you just kind of know, like they're one of the dudes, and that not every mechanic ends up being a guy that you know their name and you kind of follow where they go, and you kind of were one of the guys
that's awesome because
had that.
You kind of think that's coming when someone's like, hey, Ollie, can I have your autograph? And you're like, hey, can we have a picture with you? Or like, can you sign it? And it just on goes. And then people bring pictures to the race and stuff like that and do drawings of you, like, and it's just like, it's kind of cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
I think it just helps with like, at that time, my first year, Justin Hill was like, hey, you need to get Instagram. And I'm like, what's that? You know? So you get Instagram. So that was 2013.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, you got to post stuff. And then look at what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not on Instagram, you're not cool.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I think now if you're not on Instagram, you actually are cool.
Maybe it's done a
think it's come
flip.
full circle,
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was the culture at PC like? Now that you've been there and you spent years there and now you've got your own team, and what is it about Mitch? What is it about Pro Circuit in that time that just made it excellent?
The drive to win. The drive to win. That's all. You know, Mitch would make whatever he needed to happen. He surrounded himself with the most intelligent people. I think he had the best mechanics, best equipment, the riders that would just bury themselves to get to the top. And he had that for many years, you know, and it's just no bullshit attitude. And I think it was just third, second ain't good enough. And that rubbed off on me because I won in my first year, and then I'm just like, this is sick. And then you would see the team, if they didn't win, it was just like Monday morning, we got to work harder. We got to get back to work. We got to figure out why. And you might not have won because someone crashed or someone took someone out, but it didn't matter. It was just about winning. And it rubbed off on me that I won a lot as a mechanic. I was a part of a lot of championships that we lost. One year, I think we won the most races out of all the teams, but we didn't win any championships because of injuries and situations, stuff like that. But it was just, now you'd get a podium and just be like, meh, it's not a win. And that rubs off, I think, and then it just gets expected. And it's just the drive.
So, and what is that? Like, is that
It comes
just
from
Mitch?
him. It comes from him, yeah. He's the leader, you know, and that's what everyone looks up to and everyone wants to be a part of, and myself too. And it sculpted me to be the same. And I think during the years I became a dick because of it. And I'm not going to lie, like, you were just there to win and just get it done. And what gets you out of bed in the morning, still to this day.
That's special though.
Yeah, and
you know?
I don't think everyone has it either, the fire to just succeed and just be on top.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, everyone wants to win, but I don't know if everyone wants to win as bad as that guy. Like, it's cool. And even now, like, speeding it up, when I left PC and I went to TLD and stuff, I actually lent on him a lot. And I wouldn't be in this position today without his advice, his help, his opportunities.
So
like,
even after you left, he was still...
Yep. I would go there and just crack some beers or go and have dinner and stuff and just be like, hey, I'm struggling with this situation. What do you think? And he's like, no, you should do it like this. Like, and tell me a story about how he did it or how I should approach it. And then just put it into practice.
And what he said you just did.
Successful still, you know?
Yeah. It's funny you have those people in your life that do that. And I don't know, like maybe you don't even realize in the moment the way that they're changing your brain.
Yeah.
Because funnily enough, Wes Williams,
Okay, yeah.
it's like that for me.
Really?
Yeah. Like I did so much work with Wes early on when I moved over here.
Yeah.
And like I did all the JDR stuff, but then he would get me to come and do these big Red Bull shoots.
Yeah.
And I would be like an extra camera for him or
B-roll
extra-
and stuff.
Yeah. And man, working with him, I just learned what hard work was. I still do so many things. I name my folders the exact same way that he showed me how to do it. There's so many things that carried over. The work ethic, the hours that he would put into things, the effort that he would take, the money that he would spend. He was just a very savage dude in those days with the way that he worked, how hard he worked, the way that he would just spend money to get the product, even though it was eating out of profits and you could probably shortcut and he just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And he just went so hard and it changed me as a person. I still act that way now.
Yeah.
It just rubbed off and it never left.
Contributed to your success.
100%.
You know, so like that's me. You know, I just the pro circuit way now is the only way.
Yeah, that's such a great way to say it.
You know, and I ain't gonna change that. You know, that's who I've become and that's who I am, and it's the reason that why I'm in this position that I am right now.
And people want to think sometimes that there's a secret and that there's some magic sauce that Mitch has, but it's nope.
Hard work.
It's just hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work over time equals success.
Nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens overnight. You know, and that time we had our bad years, but bad years come and go, and then you have your good years, and it's just being there for a long period of time, and it just works itself out.
So you get Hill. Who else did you work with at Pro Circuit?
So
you worked with
Hill.
Austin.
I did Hill. Then I did Bowers because Bowers won that race.
Yep.
He left Arena Cross. He got a fill-in ride.
Yep.
That's when
him and Coop had those championship years.
Yeah, him and Coop battled, and then Osborne battled in that too. And that was some fun because we'd get in a lot of trouble with the AMA because Bowers was Arena Cross style, and there's some videos of him putting Coop down, or Coop swore on the podium that one year, and it was like a lot of controversy. But that was my second year, right? And I'm like, this shit's awesome.
Yeah, you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, you know, like I'm in my 20s and I'm just like, whatever, this is sick. Like, this is awesome. Being at the peak, like battling for championships year 2 as a mechanic, I'm like, pinch me.
Yeah.
You know, so that was cool. So then I had Bowers, and then I worked for Dino for a year. So that was cool too. And now to this day, one of my best friends, you know?
Yeah.
And like your circle and Dean's circle, like you cross paths with Dean before I got here, and like hearing your story with him and stuff. So
he's the best.
Yeah.
He's one of the best people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Sound.
Still to this day, he is no different today than he was the first day I met
like
him.
today, he's riding at my test track today.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So he needed somewhere to ride, but I'm like, this is like family, you know? So
Yeah.
it's just like, I got you.
Yeah. The best.
Yeah.
Funny as fuck. Would do anything for you.
Yeah.
That had to be a good year.
Yeah, it was a fun year. Like, we won race, lit the championship, lost the championship shit when he crashed in San Diego, and Jason landed on his bike and broke his front disc off. That's why Pro Circuit has a disc cover now, because of that race. We never had disc covers on the front back then.
No way.
But it's just, you see the evolution too, right?
Yeah.
How everything evolves. But that was a fun year with Dean.
And then you work for Austin too, didn't you?
Yeah, and then so I jumped it. So it was Hill, then Dean, then Bowers.
Yeah.
And then Bowers got Epstein-Barr and hurt his back and stuff the summer of the second year. And Austin was still Team Green.
Yeah.
And Mitch was like, hey, I got a project for you this summer. This kid's getting hunted by Geico and Star. We want to keep him. Here's a credit card pretty much. Make sure he signs.
Really?
Yep. He's still an amateur, just whatever. So he was like, all right, what do you think? Austin, you should probably come to California. And he rode Bowers' race bike. So we tested at Glen Helen, Parler, I think, or wherever. It was pretty much straight on Bowers' race bike as it came off the semi. We put 214 on it and let him rip. And it was like, it was It was cool time, actually, because he had zero fucks. Zero fucks. Remember him passing Tickle up the hill at Glen Helen. Tickle was on an RCH Suzuki, and I'm just like...
450.
Yep. Up the hill. And I'm like, holy shit. Just ride. Hey, you probably should stop. We're going to run out of gas. Oh, yeah, we almost ran out of gas. 42 minutes out there, 44 minutes out there. You're just like, stop.
Wow.
Just kid power too, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think he was 15 or something.
Yeah.
So then pretty much I took over the amateur program. So so that helped me see the amateur side of the US motocross, which I didn't know anything about. So it was like, went to Mammoth with him. Then I built his Team Green bikes in the PC shop. He was just like the 5th, 6th rider at the time. Went to Loretta's with him. Went to Minio's with him.
Yeah.
And then Arena Cross, went to the Arena Cross so he could get his...
He'd get his points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won the Arena Cross race.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then he got his points, and then he turned pro that summer. That was my best year.
Really?
Funnest year.
Really?
Yeah.
What was...
The crew, the no pressure, I say the zero fucks, but just like the crew we had that year was awesome. Like, we had Shanti, who worked for Savachi.
He's the best.
Yeah, he was.
To this day, he's the man.
Became really good friends still.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
roommates.
Another JDR boy.
Another JDR boy, right?
Yeah.
So he was there. Zim was there with AC. Cole Defoe came in later.
Yeah.
It was just
Like an all-star cast.
the vibe was so sick. Like, it was my dream team because it was the smallest little things. It's like, oh, we're going to the track in the morning. Oh, I should go pump gas. Shanti's like, no, I pumped it already. Or like, oh, we should probably put filters in the van. Zim's like, no, I put filters in already. And it just clicked. It was the most efficient shop I'd ever been a part of. And we were just crushing it on the weekends. And just like, it was just fun. Like, no expectations from Austin, but he's up there at Hangtown, 3rd for most of the race, finished 8th or whatever. But it was just, I think it was the sickest PC bike of the year. What year was that? The 16 bike.
Yeah.
Had the oil cooler on the back of the radiator. It was just sick. It was still kickstart, but I think it was the best PC bike for me. I could build that thing in 2 hours. No like electric start or anything like that. It was just
A raw race bike.
It was a hunting dog. A pure hunting dog. And that bike actually is in the showroom at PC, and I still go to PC from time to time, and I walk by the 214, and I'm like, that's
so cool.
I could be buried with that bike. Like
Really?
that was that year was awesome. Like, the stories, we would win and then party and get in trouble, and just, we were not kids, but we just acted like it. But it was like,
Work hard, play hard.
absolutely. And it just vibed. Like, Austin was at Oklahoma with Robbie's just smoking Bogle and Kennard, on a 250, and just proved it. Podiumed at Washougal, won the last national,
Yeah.
went to MXGP because the MXGP that year came to Charlotte.
That's right.
Podium there. He had my first. I did MXGP for 10 years, right? Podium with Austin that year. So it was cool to come back to that full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. How was Mitch with the whole work hard, play hard thing? I feel like he gets it.
No. We were, it's bad. Sorry, Mitch, but we were scallywags at the time. Like, we would party on Thursday after our bike was built,
Yeah.
I did everything that I tell my mechanics now not to do. But as long as they show up, you can't argue it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't get out of hand. It was just too much.
Yeah,
And
just
you
probably
grow
too
out
much.
of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we were winning. Everyone was crushing it. And then
The bike's
just
getting built.
nothing fell off the bike.
Yeah.
Bikes made it to the end, doing our jobs, but just enjoying being on the road a little too much.
It just has changed so much now, eh?
Yeah.
That era was just, man,
And I'm sure that the generation before me went through that era too.
probably even worse.
Way worse, probably. Yeah, probably way worse. And there were 2-day races back then. Like, practice was Friday, or practice was Saturday, racing was Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now it's 1-day event on Saturday. It's almost get in, get out.
Yeah.
But some of the times we'd go to the airport on Sunday and not been asleep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were probably part of it. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to just go drop my bag off, leave the hotel, have a shower, go party, come back,
Way too old for that now.
two hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was one night, I didn't even, I can't remember exactly what. Dude, I remember a little bit. I was sharing a room with Nate Ramsey.
Yeah.
And we went out it was San Francisco.
Okay.
And I had a girl with me. And I'm like, Nate's a married man. I can't come back to this hotel room with a girl.
Yeah.
So I knock on the door. Nate, I'm coming. I'm just going to come grab it. He's like, what are you doing, dude? And I was like, I got a girl. I've got to figure out where to stay. Take this chick back to Mark Johnson's room.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. And I'm with this chick all night with Mark Johnson. Bro, Kenny was out late that night.
Yeah.
I was like, walked Kenny home. Like, there was a big night. But that was like every single weekend. I remember like Atlanta when they used to have the DMXS party. Dude, Friday, Saturday, all night.
Okay.
Like pretty much didn't
Bit
sleep.
before my time,
for
I
that.
think that
Yeah,
was.
it was 2011.
Okay.
Like, it was right when you would have came. But dude, just literally no sleep the entire weekend.
Yeah.
2 days of just fully sending it. And then like Dean's parents driving me to the airport because I missed my. I remember there was one night I partied all night and the flight was early and the whole JDR team was just like, no one wake him up. Fuck him.
All right, learn your lesson.
He's going to learn a lesson. He's going to learn a lesson today.
Still happens.
So then Ty Simmons ends up like running up, bashing on my door. He's like, dude, I got to get him ready. I get up, race down, I basically miss my flight. I'm going to be late. So then I go downstairs. Dean's parents are there, and they're like, we'll give you a ride to there. I'm like, I've already missed my flight. I'm not in a rush. Whatever. I'll get there, rebook. Get there, take my time, get breakfast, get a coffee, walk on in. Flight's been delayed. And all of the team are there with no food, no coffee.
So you had more sleep than anyone else. You got coffee, you got breakfast. You're just like, boys, what's up?
And I was at the front of the plane. And so I go on first, and dude, Vince walked past me. Fuck you. Just straight in my face, telling me to get fucked. Nate walked past me. He's like, yeah, man, I don't know, man. And the old shanty, fuck you, bro. Like, literally one by one, and they all walked.
That's so funny. That's such a cool story.
But yeah, like it was literally every weekend was like that.
I had to get to bed early on Friday because Saturday was work. So it was never anything for me on Fridays.
Saturday, though.
If we did good, yeah, we had a good time, that's for sure. But yeah, it's part of it also.
Yeah, but there used to actually be after parties. There's not now.
No,
just not a thing.
Like you would have been around still. Like my early years here, it was like Monster books out the whole Hard Rock Hotel, and then there's a Monster party in the Hard Rock, and I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The only party we'd ever really hit in Europe would have been like a champ party.
Yeah.
You know, I hit some of Caroli's over the years, and they were pretty wild.
I bet.
But when you win a championship, it's just a good excuse to let loose a little bit.
Dude, the MotoGP boys send it after every race.
Well, they don't really go practicing or testing on Tuesday. They have their designated days, but
Austin this year, we were out after, and I couldn't believe it.
Really?
It was like the crazy. Everybody.
Really?
Fucking sending it, dude. And so it was in Austin. There was a country music. What music do Europeans not listen to?
That's country. It's far from it. Yeah.
Dude, so there's this guy on stage. Unbelievable. Like, it was such a great covers, originals, like the full band. And all of the Euros are just going, ole, ole, ole. Like, just basically, like, and there was a DJ setting up for, like, when this guy finished. And I felt so fucking bad. Anytime the DJ would, like, open a box or start, they'd all be cheering for this fucking DJ, dude. It was the most awkward shit.
They just need some techno.
That's all literally, they needed. That's all they wanted.
That's all they needed, and they'd have the best night.
Yeah, yeah. But they still, dude, the MotoGP boys just still go hard as fuck.
Fair play, and they go fast as fuck too in a straight line.
yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's probably how they go so fast.
Yeah, and just switch the brain on. So, yeah, that season with Austin, so I went to Costa Rica with him in 15.
Oh, okay.
He was still on a Super Mini. Remember when he did that trip with Carmichael?
Yep. Yeah.
So I was on that.
Okay.
Dude, he was probably faster than Ricky.
Probably.
On a Super Mini.
Probably. Well, the power to weight ratio on a Super Mini is greater than anything else we ride right now.
Dude, there was this uphill triple that he was jumping. It was a Costa Rican national or whatever last round, and him and Ricky went out and were doing hot laps together. Never seen anything like it.
That would have been like the James era, right? Probably riding a Super Mini. Like James, the stuff James would have done on a Super Mini would have probably been similar to what Austin was doing.
I'm sure.
Last year.
Yeah. It was just ridiculous how fast this kid could ride.
I was only ever part of the big bike program, but even then, he raced Monster Cup in the amateur race one year, and you look at the times, he'd have been top 10 in the 250 class.
He is so talented.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I look at that 2019 season when he does his knee and then Chase wins the championship. Look at the fork in the road of
and I
careers.
talk about
you
that
think
now.
about that?
Yeah. What could have been, or you can't think of that, but just, that year, the 19 year, even 18, he battled with Osborne.
Yeah.
That was year 2, I think, of his Supercross program. And like the 19 year sucks because he was living with me at the time. We were just shooting the shit. I think like watching TV shows and just going on the track. We would go to like where I live right by the test tracks in Corona. So we'd go ride, we'd go hit Wood Ranch, he'd eat like baked potato, mac and cheese, pasta, shit. We'd go to the cryotherapy on the way home. He'd freeze, do his massage and stuff. Next day, back to the test track. It was just like
locked in.
Yeah, and you could tell. We're at it was just, that was the year. You could tell that probably because he rode East Coast. Middle of January, I'm like, we're winning this.
Like, there's just no one that could beat this kid.
No, and even...
Could you find some like random footage of
Yeah,
him at a
even
test
like-
track in 2019?
And even like, we'd go to Detroit that year, Triple Crown, win 3 races. He'd win by 20 seconds and roll the triples because he's just goofing off on the last lap. It was just got the start. And I remember that race, we'd always have team tactics or whatever. The manager goes to the tower and he's like, hey, don't pick this gate because the rut is messed up. Austin's like, I got it. I'm going to whole shot. Austin picks the worst messed up rut just to prove a point. I can still whole shot from it. That's when you're locked in, right?
That's insane.
And it's just, it gives me goosebumps that year. Just okay.
Let's go.
It was
let's
2019
try,
now.
Let's try and just scroll down. 241.
We were on our own program, honestly. Southwick 2016 was a good one. Shit. So when he chased Webb.
Yeah.
He was overriding the bike at that point, Austin was. You can see now, like...
Where is... Go up a little bit.
18 was 38, 24.
Keep going.
And sometimes I get caught going down the rabbit hole on YouTube and just going back to the good old days.
Yeah. I want a visual of him riding back
I don't
then
think we did. We were quite segregated when we do our own program. What's that?
What? Yeah.
I can't even remember what year. 24 year? Might have been. That was 18, I think, 24.
Yeah, okay. But yeah,
still,
just so
like,
fast.
It was, again, zero fucks. It was the butt patches and stuff. And he was running the Trump butt patch back then. And then and then after that, the agent was like, yeah, this is probably not a good idea. There was some controversy, and it was just like. And so actually, someone brought it up last week, the pixie stick kid, right? So we'd pound pixie sticks between motos just to get the sugar, and then he was the pixie stick kid, and then the butt patches, and it was that one year, I think, it was that one year in Detroit, I'd have little bets with him. I'm like, all right, if you win all 3 heats tonight, I'll buy you Cold Stone. And you've got to take it to the press conference. Well, he wins all 3 races. We get Cold Stone DoorDash, and he's up at the press conference eating ice cream.
What a legend, man.
Yeah.
It's so sad, that 2019 season, because, so Chase wins that title, which he just wasn't going to win. Like, Austin had that completely locked up. And then you just look at year after year after year. And then even the year 24 when he has that huge crash in.
Yep.
Dude, Deegan had nothing for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Austin had unlocked it again that year. Coming back from what he'd been through, like with me, he lost a spleen and
Oh, so
in
you were
Utah.
around for that.
Yeah, I was there for till the 22 was my last year there. I think. No, 21. 21 was my last year at PC. So I was with Austin from the day he turned pro until the end of 2021. And the last couple of years, ever since 19, they were all rebuild years, you know, didn't unlock the full potential. It was like, got hurt to get back. Like, all right, I got hurt during Supercross. I'll just make it to every national and just put money in the bank, theoretically, with laps, and then go into the off season with some momentum and then grind and come back to Supercross. But it was always just, and it shows that these days that you've got to complete a whole season with that base, go into the off season, and then you can start evolving.
Yep.
If you're hurt and you play catch up, pretty much your next off season is just to get back where you were.
Yep.
You're not stepping up.
Yep. No, the
And it
whole
was multiple years of that.
compounding is the most underrated force in motocross and supercross.
And being around it so long, you see that that's so important.
Yeah. Look at Deegan.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of very minor setbacks in his career.
Yeah.
And look what he was able to do.
Yeah.
And you look at Austin, huge setback year after year.
You're just
after
getting
year.
back to where you were. Say you just get back to where you were, but the guy next to you is compounding, then he's already got the edge on you.
Yep.
Already. Now there's only a handful of people that can get back to where they were. Like Jet has had some setbacks, but he has so much talent and work ethic that he can get there. I'm not saying Austin didn't, but I think he was young. It's just tough. And then the other guys step up.
Yep.
Really tough.
Akrapovich, I will say this, best built muffler for the money.
I've never owned one in my life. They those things.
Dude, $1,600, dude.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, you will. You'll do it.
Damn you, Chris Kiefer. They've got one. This part fits your ride. 1,300 with shipping. All right, let's go. So now we hurry up and wait. Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, already.
That's unbelievable. That happened so fast. Because this order was over $79, it qualified for free shipping. And Kiefer was right. This might be the most well-built exhaust I've ever seen. And we wasted no time fitting it to my YZ450. The way the exhaust mounts on Yamahas is unique, but really simple. And in about 20 minutes, we have transformed the look, the sound, and the engine characteristics of this 450. All that's left to do is hit the track. As usual, Kiefer was right. The Acro took the power of the Yami and put it in all the right places. It was smooth off the bottom, but still meaty, and I loved the new exhaust note. To transform your next ride, hit the link in the description and head to motosport.com. And right now, if you head to motosport.com/win, you can enter their ultimate ride sweepstakes and win a YZ450F of your own. So what did Austin not have compared to, say, like a Deegan that was able to, I guess, maybe just not have those setbacks in the beginning, but no matter what happened, Deegs was able to keep the train on the tracks, and it just seems like Austin wasn't.
That's a really good question. Can you say you put yourself in those circumstances? You know, like you put yourself in those bad positions. In Nashville, when Austin blew his knee out, he had qualified faster than Chase by a second and was going for another hot lap. Now, that's the racer in you that always wants to do better. And there was multiple times that year that he was fastest than the 450 guys. And you're like, bro, we got 200 cc's less. You're okay. You're on top. We don't need to prove anything. Now, hindsight, just cruise, just roll past the whoops. You don't need to go again. You're already up by a second. But it's just, you always want to better yourself. You always want to better yourself. And it's the risk versus reward, right? And I think that was a lot of it.
Like he just didn't, the risk almost didn't enter his mind. He was so confident and so fast.
Yeah. And it just the train derailed multiple times after that. And even back to the 1 year we finished in Utah after the residency, he was in the championship fight with Ferrandis.
Yep.
And he had, at that position where he crashed, I think Mikael Raff was up front. He was 3rd or 4th or whatever, and Ferrandis was 8th. Like, he was going to be champion. And then some freak thing went over the bars. It was at the backside of me I didn't see, and then spleens ruptured. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Again? It was, that one was hard too. The 19, I mean, it's harder for Austin. You know, he's the one riding it. But everything that we would put in and just, he lived with me. We just eat, sleep, shit. Supercross test track. It was just everything. And it was tough for me.
What made him so fast, do you think?
Determination, I think. He had bike skills, mate. He could backflip a BMX, backflip a scooter. Skill.
Just so he
Talent.
was just one
Yep.
of those freak kids.
Yep. Yeah. Like the monster guys would take him to that BMX park, wherever it is in Northern California, and he'd backflip. So, like, it's just talent, I think.
Yeah, so he was just that good on a
Absolutely.
dirt
yeah.
bike.
Yeah. And obviously, Cowie, I think, knew that because they were like, my project was to keep this kid on a Cowie. Because he had offers from Geico and Star.
And Mitch had famously never really played those games.
Not really.
Like
No.
AC, they fought to keep.
Yeah.
And Austin. But other than that, I mean, they've lost so much talent to these other manufacturers because they were so much more aggressive than Mitch.
Yeah.
Mitch just, I don't think, ever wanted to play that game.
No. And then, like, where do you stop with that game?
Exactly.
Like, these kids are getting these multi-year contracts when they're 14, 15, and you're like, they could hit puberty and just not peak, find a girlfriend, get burnt out, and then you've locked in this kid for 2 years on your pro program when you could have had someone better at the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy how the industry has changed with that, and it's almost going back around now.
It seems like it's kind of leveling out a bit, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Peak Faulkner versus peak Deegan.
Faulkner. This the stuff that we would see at the test track. And I'm sure they see it too, but it was being part of that, it was still surreal. You know?
So what have you, because I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
But it's like, what did you see? Because this is the stuff that fans can't see.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's the day-to-day stuff. Like, everyone sees everything at the race, and they're just going to work, right? And they're just doing their job, and they're executing. But it's just how you see the progression or the confidence grow, or just, like, the critiquing, or just, like, he absorbed a lot of, like, the Jeannie Carmichael program, and then he had Robbie and those kind of people. And it was just, how do we just get better? 1% better every day.
No matter how good you already
And I believe
are.
Deegan's doing the same thing, right? That's why he's dominating the way he is. It's just like, let's shorten the track up. A shorter track means a faster track. Let's just create a line. Let's cut down there. Can you wheelie to the 4th whoop, not the 3rd whoop? Or you got to have some balls to do that, right? But you got to be locked in, and that's the next stage. But it's just like, can we work on the shock? Can we be better? Like, should we test this tire? Just everything has to be accountable for.
Yeah.
And it's just the package, I think.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get there, like, they're so confident that they're like, I don't care what tire. I'll make it work. That's when you've unlocked beast mode.
Yeah.
You know?
And so he would literally just be like, whatever.
Yep. Picking a gate. It's like, you pick it. Okay. And still rip it, you know, and just like.
That is so savage,
and I'm
bro.
sure Deegan is just like that, you know.
Yeah.
When you're on, you're on. And Ricky would have been the same, and just those guys. I don't think you can be that locked in and have doubts. You got to have zero doubts.
And that was Austin.
Yep.
It's so sad that we didn't get to see his potential.
Yeah.
Because he was a freak. I mean, even the race that he has that huge one at Arlington.
Yeah.
Deegan wasn't catching him.
No, not that night. I was watching from the stands actually, and just, I was like, he's back.
Literally. And he won the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, Deegan went down in the first race that year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he fucking smoked him.
And even like the year before, I think he won a race in East Rutherford. So like he came back to the level every year of being able to win.
Yeah.
And that's all Mitch needed to just commit for another year, because like your guys still can win. So go into the off season with that, you'll be good. But like, yeah, what could have been with him in the chase direction, because I was in Austin's contract to go to Cowie to be 450 mechanic.
Really?
Yeah. They put that in early, like year 2. Because if he kept going, he would have won 18, 19, 20, it was 450. And I was in that contract. So I was like, yep, we'll just keep going. What would have been, huh?
Man, incredible what
Yeah.
there could have been with him. And then, now just everything that he's been through, like you kind of get to a point with a guy like him where as a fan, and I've known him since he was 15, where you're just like, man, I just don't want to see you get hurt.
Yeah.
You got a kid, you got a wife.
Yep.
Like,
Priorities change.
this just didn't
Now this
didn't
is
work
just
out.
a job. Back then it was like a
Everything.
career. Yeah. Now you got to do it to pay the bills, to feed the family. And then like goals change,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just that it would be so hard now. Like, I mean, who knows where his body is? It's like if you hang out with AC, I mean, fucking hell, he's literally hanging on by a thread.
Like Dean.
Dean, same.
Yeah.
Dude, man, Dean's underrated still. He
Yeah.
got fucking 9th on the weekend.
And so it was a funny story. He FaceTimed me on Sunday because he had a question because he was working on his clutch. And he goes, what guy just finished in the top 10 on Saturday and he's put in a clutch in his own bike on Sunday? And I'm like,
Facts, bro.
yeah.
Underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, this year in Oz, granted the tracks aren't as gnarly. Bro, that's probably the best I've ever seen him ride. Like, he looked unreal in Australia. He was smoking them, bro.
Yeah. Even now, like he's came back in and he's doing better than what I thought. And the class is stacked. We haven't lost many guys. So he's coming back in showing his potential. He can't do it for 17 anymore because of the body just can't hang in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he has the best program for him. He'll go to Brazil, do a little bit, Australia, bit in England. Yeah, bit in England. Like gives him enough time to recover and just elongate that career a little bit longer,
And the sport's better because he's still on a dirt bike.
Absolutely.
And that's what I think, especially with World Supercross, especially with, these other series, with the sport getting more popular globally and have an investment from, like, they need guys that can win those races.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty sick that he's able to, like, he'd still be making good money for sure.
Yeah. You wouldn't know if you're hanging out with him, but he's putting it away for sure. But no, and you need people like that in this industry, like the Grandpa Earl.
Oh, yeah.
It just lightens the mood up too, because we just grind week in, week out, and it's monotonous at times. And you need that just to bring it back to earth a little bit, is why we do it.
Yeah, and there's an element, especially with Dean, where his factory Honda fill-in last year was probably 50% because of how he can ride the motorcycle, and 50% of we all want to hang out with Dean.
Pretty much,
Really,
Pretty much, yeah. It's just good to have him around. Like, even then, he's in my semi eating Chipotle because we got catered, and he just bounces all over the place, but it's awesome. Yeah, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. So you finish up with Pro Circuit.
Yep.
What led to that decision? Because when you went to GasGas, it was a bit higher of a role, right? You weren't a mechanic.
No,
there.
actually, I was just burnt on one more year with Austin, it could work out. One more year with Austin, it could work out. So
he broke your heart.
Yeah, I was just burnt out.
Yeah.
Loyalty has always been one of my strengths. I was at Pro Circuit as a mechanic for 9 years. I think the longest ever was 5.
Really?
So you run it pretty hard there, building engines and stuff like that. I think I was able to stay there longer because Austin got hurt and I did other projects during the summers and stuff. So it wasn't like every race every year. I just got tired of the grind, I could say, or just driving to the same track.
Yeah.
Or just doing the same
9
thing.
years is a long time.
Yeah.
I haven't even been doing the podcast.
Yeah. So I needed a change, and Austin, like, I wanted to be a 450 mechanic, and I didn't know how much longer I had it in me to be a mechanic on the circuit. So I wanted to tick the boxes 450 because I was pretty much, sounds egotistical, but like the guy, 250 mechanic, right? One of the guys. So I wanted to step up. I was in Austin's contract to go 450s with Cowie, and that didn't happen 3 years in a row because he got hurt. And I was like, damn. And then I just started listening to what was out there, and through a friend group, Jason went to Cowie. Jason was like, yo, will you come to Cowie and be my mechanic? I'm like, I want to go to Cowie. Cowie liked me, I believe. Make it happen. Well, that didn't happen. So I was like, shit, I need a plan B. And then another good friend, Paul P, was just like, hey, you should speak to TK because Barcia's mechanic's leaving. And I'm like, all right, I called TK and was like, hey, I'm trying to go to Cowie with Jason. I don't think that's going to work out. What do you got? And he goes, I'll pay you this. You can work for Barcia. He is everything that you hear and worse. But his wife's English. You'll probably get along really good with him. I need a good mechanic for Justin. And I'm like, okay. So the Cowie thing, pretty much, I got a call about the Cowie thing. 2:00, 2:05. I called TK and said, can we do this? He goes, yep. I said, all right, I'm in.
That's wild.
It was wild. And like, I didn't want to leave Pro Circuit. Some people left. I was hoping I was going to get promoted to maybe crew chief or some development position, but I never got it. And then it may have come the following year, but I was like, you know what? I need
Just a change.
Yeah, a change.
Yeah.
Change
Yeah.
of scenery. And
Yeah.
what's crazy is I hate change.
Yeah.
I hate change so much. Like, I'm driving the opposite way to work, and I'm like, F this, the traffic's worse. And just
do the same
every
thing.
little thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I did the change. Me and Justin clicked from day one. Like,
He's
it's
the best.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hard on equipment. Oh. But then, so I think that was the 2022. I was his mechanic. So I had to learn the bike, new shop, new team, Justin. It was a lot, again, just to like hone your skills back into that, like building an Austrian bike again, which I built in Europe after being on a PC bike. I was like, wow, this thing took me a long time to build, different processes, different ways that the team wanted it done.
Yeah.
But after a while, that just becomes the norm. You forget what you used to do, and then this is what you're doing currently. So it just becomes autopilot. So we did that. Had some success, actually, with Justin. I liked it. I mean, he led the championship at San Diego with the first 3 podiums.
Yeah.
Straight in the top. So it was awesome. 17 Supercross races was the first. I was like, well, completed it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then onto the summer, and it was just... It was fun, and it was good to be in the 450 class. And like going from the top guy in the 250 class to like a good guy in the 450 class, the jump is massive.
Really?
Yeah.
Even as a mechanic?
Yeah. As a mechanic, I remember going on the floor at A1 that year, 2022, and they're all legends, right? They're all like, everyone's a past 250 champion or a 450 champion and have all won races, and they're just legit guys. And I remember them rolling out on the first lap of practice, and Coop just goes to smash Justin turn 3. And then Justin's trying to smash someone else. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, these boys.
This is
are
legit.
not-
Yeah. I'm like, that was my first impression. I'm like, holy shit. Gnarly. But so sick. It's surreal.
And so how different is it from a mechanic's point of view? Obviously, you're building a race bike 9 more times a year.
Yeah.
But other than that?
I think more intense. I think working with 1 450 guy is like working with 2 250 guys at once.
Really?
Justin was for sure. Gnarlier on engines, more demanding. Like at 20 hours, he's like, hey, my practice bike's tired. I need a new one. And you're like, 20? Just like, oh, my rims are smashed. Like if he was at home, it's just like rims every other week on a practice bike. It's just like mufflers blown out, brake pads fried. It's just clutches every time he hit the track. And it's just like, what the fuck?
You know, I've changed my oil once on my 450 and never done an air filter.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I changed probably clutches more than air filters when I was at GasGas. Yeah.
Fuck.
It's just the level of that rider and the demand that they
What are you saying?
take. How many championships, 450 championships we got? But
Yeah, no, fair.
it's in context, right?
No,
But it was
yeah.
just that level.
Yeah.
The attention to detail, I was like, I've done it to win in the 250 class, but you've got to do it for whatever level you're at in the 450 class. You know, it's a lot. But wouldn't have it any other way.
And Justin probably is one of the hardest on bikes. Really?
You would think so, yeah.
Him and Eli.
Oh, Eli for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's one.
Who else would be gnarly?
When I was with Dean on the 250, he was gnarly.
Yo, he's a fucking big
I know.
dude.
There was multiple nights Mitch locked me in the shop.
Really?
Yeah, because I had just so much work to do. Yeah.
So Mitch would go home
Yeah.
and you would be there by
By
yourself.
myself, yeah, just locked in.
And do you sleep there? Like, what
No,
do you do?
it was close. I ended up moving really close to the shop
Okay.
in an apartment, so it was like 2 minutes and I was home. I never sleep there, but it was like early hours, all the time.
Because he was just fucking shit.
Gnarly, yeah.
Clutches, wheels, graphics,
Crutches,
seats.
wheels, just everything. motors should go 15 hours, but you'd only go to 8 with Dean before he needed a rebuild. Just that's the stuff that takes the time. It's not even braking. It's just the regular maintenance.
Yeah.
Frame stretching, braking.
And they can tell when a frame stretches?
Yeah, just be like it doesn't turn good. Things feel soft. They're in tune. Yeah.
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 But I see, it's so crazy because I live for that feeling.
Yeah.
Like my Yamaha, I've got my 20, I've still got a 25. I just never took it back. I just,
keep
I just
riding
didn't
it.
get the 26.
You like
I'm
the edge taken off.
Yeah, well, and there's just too much shit on it to move.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't fucking have time for this. Then
Or
I just
even-
kept it. And then I rode it last Sunday, probably rode for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this bike feels so good.
Yeah, this is
And it's because it's fucked.
Probably, yeah.
And it just feels so nice now.
It's like what they grow up with, right? Like, so Austin always liked his frames broken in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Because their amateur bikes they'd run them for so long, that was what they were, their norm. So it's like, okay, well, we'll use maybe 4 frames in a year. So the next 4 weeks, I run a frame every week, put it on the shelf. It's just that stuff, what goes into it too. Like we even do that on my current program, you know, we're breaking frames and then put them on the shelf and keep them for a rainy day.
Really? So you guys will start them, put some hours on them, then they go
Or
aside.
like, say you build a brand new practice bike,
Yeah.
like we did at the beginning of the year. You'd get to like 10 hours on a frame, just take it out, put another one in for practice, and then keep your 10-hour one for your race bike. And you just
so
rotate them like that.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
some guys like it like that way.
Yeah. So you have those years with Barcia.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that stack up in like the career? Because after GasGas, then you make this big
So
switch now.
The first Barcia year was like not a reset, but just a different
Learning year
chapter
almost.
of
Yeah.
my life, right? Like a learning year. And during that year, obviously, I not excelled, but my knowledge carried me to be crew chief the following year.
Yep.
So that was cool. And I was like, do I want to not work on bikes? Because now instead of just having one rider that you grow a relationship with, you got more. I had 3 at the time. So that year he was a mechanic. Then I was Barcia's crew chief. But I actually think that helped our program in the 450 class because I had a relationship with Justin.
Yeah.
So I could just be like, nah. Like he might be complaining about something. And I'm like,
You're like,
nah.
shut up.
Pretty much. Time and a place, right?
Yeah,
Usually,
yeah.
But some of the times it's like, nah, that ain't how it's going to be. And you can respect that and he can respect that answer. Wouldn't happen very often. Normally.
What's an example of that?
Just when we would come to testing or just be like, I want this. And like, well, this is not available. You know, we can't do this. So we got to make this work. And it's like, okay, well, let's make this work.
Yeah. And without that relationship of being in the trenches with
It
him,
would also maybe like, okay, let me go see if I can get this. No, knowing ahead that it's just a question. I'm just going to get the door closed on.
Yeah.
So it's not even worth humiliating myself and then coming back and giving Barcia this little bit of hope that maybe we could do this.
Yeah.
And just knowing his style and things like that. Like everyone thinks Barcia's a rever in the air, but not on the ground.
So he's not riding the way that people think.
Not in the transitions and stuff like that. He's not bouncing off the rev limiter on the track. His actually RPMs are actually in the peak torque on the track.
Huh.
But in the air, that thing's bouncing of every limiter that's available to it.
Did you ever ask him why?
It just is what it is. You're not changing their styles or their technique at that point. We just made a joke of it. Now, he was riding press day last weekend on the Ducati, and he went out in the first session, and it was okay. And I was stupid with my old suspension guy at the time. Barcia's riding, and you just hear the rev limiter on the Ducati, and he was like, well, Justin feeling comfortable because he's just bouncing off this limiter. So, like, you could tell, and you can learn the rider's characteristics by that.
Yeah.
And even the last year of TOD, he would be riding and he looks funny in the air. And I'm like, it's got arm pump. And I'd tell Frankie, hey, Justin's got arm pump. And then after the race, Justin's like, my arms are pumped. Frankie's like, you were right. I said, yeah, that's when you become, your boys, you know, and you know when they're having bad days or you know when there's a problem. And I could see it. I was just like, he's got arm pump. He did this weird thing with his arms one time. I'm like, fuck, he's got arm pump. I might as well just walk back to the semi.
No way.
Yeah. Little things like that.
So you get that in tune with your guys.
Yeah.
And that's just because you've seen them ride
Yep.
so many
And then I got
times.
that with Pierce. I got that with Ryder. Like those years, like I said, the years with Austin were good and Shanty and the boys. But then like 2023 at GasGas when I was crew chief, I had a suspension guy that was on the same page as me, and everyone would leave. We'd go dyno suspension, and we'd just tinker, and we had a good bike. It was the first year of that platform GasGas, and we had multiple podiums with Justin, and we almost won Indy when him and Roxon went at it.
Yeah.
And Justin would start 8th, finish 2nd.
Yes.
So I'm like, if Justin can start 5th, we can win.
Yeah.
So I'm back to the drawing board. Technically, like, what can we change? What mapping do we need to do? Can we take some time out? Just geeking on the things that I've learned. Like most of it, I learned at Pro Circuit. Nothing new. It's just how you pieced it together for Justin. And
it takes time.
You got to go. That's why Ducati have evolved, like we spoke about earlier. Like, you don't know where you're at until you roll out for Anaheim. Then you've either got to just keep it going or you got to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And also not panic to reinvent the wheel. You've got to like strategically pick it apart.
Yeah.
Not throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks, because I see that happening everywhere often. But I think it's the ones that are, I'm a thinker. No doubt about it. I think on the airplane, I think at home, and just how we can be 1% better. But going back to that year, 2023 was sick. We got a lot of podiums, and I'd even get mad at Justin. We finished 3rd. I'm like, I ain't coming to race for 3rd. I ain't coming to race for 2nd. And like, he'd almost win, and I'm like, okay, we're right there. If we started 2 positions further up, we'd win. Looking at the lap time and stuff like that. And then obviously it rained in New York, and we got that win, but it was like, he was going to win that night, whether it was raining or dry.
Yeah.
Believe that.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, just the way that he was trending and the way that you guys
Trending,
were trending.
and we were just dialing him in. And yeah, he was winning whether it was dry or wet that night. But to win that one was a big deal for me in my career too.
I was going to say that would have been your first 450 win, eh?
Yeah, 450 win, crew chief, like, meant a lot. Yeah.
And so to get to the position that you're in now, so you started this year, brand new team, privateer team.
Yep.
Why leave a crew chief position at a factory race team to start something like this?
Okay, so I was forced to leave. The TOD team stopped at the end of 24.
Okay.
So we raced 23, raced 24. We had Ryder and Pierce and Justin on the TLD team. And the TLD had another year contract with GasGas, but for whatever reason, Adam, my understanding is that the team stopped. So we all got told to go look for jobs. Now, Justin, I believe, made some calls, and I was hired by KTM to work on the Rockstar GasGas program. So Nate would have been my boss, which would have been really cool.
Yeah.
So I was there for 5 weeks, and then KTM went into their financial difficulties and let 17 of us go in the KTM Motosport department in the US. So motor guys went, suspension guys went, stuff like that. And
what was that day like?
Terrible. I was last in, first out, pretty much.
Really?
That's why I was on the books for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I was good because I was going to be with Barcia. On the GasGas, it was rocks, whatever. It's the same stuff, you know? So we could have just kept the ball rolling. But that day was rough. And I've always wanted to work with Nate. Yeah. And even before I took the position that I'm currently in, I called him and picked his brain and stuff like that.
So what made you, like, if you'd never worked with him before, how did you know that you wanted to work with him?
I kind of worked alongside him. I was doing a lot of the testing with Barcia at GasGas for like the whole brands and stuff. I had a good rapport with the guys in Austria because some of the guys in the departments in Austria I worked with when I was back in Europe.
Yeah.
So they worked their way up in KTM in Austria and run departments.
Yeah.
And I did the racing thing, come over here. So it was like reconnecting.
So you guys worked your way up in separate lanes and converged.
So it was easy to text them, hey, what do you have here? We're struggling with this. What do you think? And they're like, oh, we could do this and this. And it just went straight to the departments, you know. So it was communication.
Bridge.
It was just awesome. And like, they were happy that I was successful here. I got to work with them again in Europe. And it was just really cool. I really enjoyed that. And I learned a lot in that process. Nate has a good rap in the industry. Calm, calculated, experienced. Everyone wants to work with him. Dean said he's a really good team manager. You would have worked with him. Like even his podcast on here, you're like, a lot of knowledge.
He's just there's like people that talk the talk, and then there's people that talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah.
And then there's people that just walk the walk.
Yeah.
You know, and he just walks the walk.
Yeah.
And he's one of the people I could never say enough good things about him.
Exactly.
And the things that he did for me personally when I was at a very, I was just like very young, very inexperienced, very immature. It would have been very easy for him to just like really be like, bro, you were fucking way too hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But he never did. He just treated me with so much kindness,
Yeah.
so much respect,
Humble.
gave me so much wisdom. Like, dude, I used to drive and work out with him every day at 5:30.
Yeah.
He'd be like, hey, man, you should start coming to the gym with me in the mornings. And I would be like, yeah, okay.
See
cool.
you there. Yeah.
And I would go to the gym and we'd work out every day.
That's cool.
And it would like just, there's something so
structure too.
special
Yeah.
about him and the way that he is a leader. And yeah, so it's interesting that you say you wanted to work with him.
And also
Because it's like,
yeah.
what did you know? Because I know what that is.
So it's hard to explain to the listeners too, but someone just has this aura about themselves and you respect them and the experience you knew.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, like he raced for Mitch. So he knew kind of like where I came from too. And he was on the different side of it, but still you learn the same ways. And even when I was there with Barcia on the TLD program, he ran the Husky program and the testing was all throughout. It was not a secret, everyone could help everyone and stuff. And Nate would be like, hey, what did you learn today? Or why not? What about trying this? And just clicked. We didn't have a lot of like time to work together like that, but it was gonna work. Yeah, it was gonna work. And it was just like, hey, go do your deal. I trust you. It just didn't last that long, It was only 5 weeks and then, a lot of us were out of there. So that sucked. Especially the timing. I mean, the timings, they couldn't help it, but I turned down some good jobs at the end of the TLD program because I'm like, nope, I want to stay here. I like it here. I get to work with Justin still. I'm going to work with Nate. It's just going to be a different energy drink logo on the bike. And then after 5 weeks, it kind of like, it is what it is. They get their orders from Europe and they just got to cut some people and it's business at the end of the day. So I was like, now what?
10 years of being at the top of the sport as a top mechanic, crew chief, to then just not have a job.
Yeah. So obviously they don't care about resumes, didn't care about experience or anything like that. It's just a number.
A number, yeah.
So that sucked. Like it just showed me that the industry is kind of ruthless.
For sure.
And like one of my good friends always told me that. He said, you need a backup plan always because someone will chew you up and spit you out when you least expect it. And that's what happened to me.
That is
and others too,
Yeah.
Good mechanics in the same situation.
So how do you land at the team that you're at now?
So I kind of chilled for a little bit. I wasn't going to get a job until the end of the year. So that was like a year ago. And then I got let go at like 10 a.m., 10:35. I was in Mitch's office.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, I just got let go. And he's like, what? Why? I'm like, oh, budget cuts, I guess. He goes, well, they're idiots. He goes, something good will come of this. I'm like, well, I don't see it now. And anyway, so I spoke with him a bit, spoke to some other teams. It didn't really fit. So I went back to Mitch for a year, hoping that it would grow into something else. I didn't go to many races that season. I helped out a lot behind the scenes. Just didn't tick my boxes. If that makes sense. But I know he gave me an opportunity to pay the mortgage and to still be a part of it. And
just to not completely disconnect.
Well, go to Home Depot and have to go back to England or something like that, or do something that I really, really hated. So I took that position. And then obviously after I took that position, the phone was ringing and I got positions that dream jobs. But I'm loyal to signing a contract is one of my strengths. So I signed the contract with Mitch. So I needed to write it out no matter what came across. So it was a tough year. So that was.
And you got a family at this point.
Yeah, I'm engaged. I mean, I don't have kids at this point, but like the home life is good.
Yeah. But so there's a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like we're just off chasing this dream, racing dirt bikes every weekend, like kid stuff. But it's actually like it's the career. It's what I moved here for. It's what ticks my boxes and gets me out of bed in the morning. So I was back there more behind the scenes, and I wasn't getting my satisfaction out of life.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like seeping into my weekends because I didn't go to many races, and I'm just like, I would watch the races and I was just pissed. I was like seeing people have success and I'm just like, miss that feeling. Kind of miss the grind too. I mean, when you're in the grind, you're like, F this grind, like this is not sustainable. But then when you're out of it, like forced, you're like, nah, it puts it into context that I need to race.
Yeah, it's like a purpose in it.
Yeah. So that year was tough. It was only last year. But then this other opportunity came around, what I'm in now, and there was some rumblings of this one guy out of New York helping out people, had a team this summer and just wanted to step it up. And then a couple people actually called me about it. Were like, hey, you should talk to this guy. He's interested in doing this. And then we got connected and we spoke a few times, and kind of like the rest is history.
Huh.
It happened so fast.
Did you ever think that this would be a project that you would take on?
No. I don't think it happens very often in this industry either.
Yeah.
Like something to come in so fast at such, I say high speed, but it was spoke a couple times in September. There wasn't much else for me in the industry. I spoke to a couple people. Wasn't anything to sink my teeth into. It was either stay where I'm at and just be pissed off, or honestly, I just rolled the dice and took a chance on myself. Because thinking over the years at TOD, I was like, well, if this was my team, I would do it this way.
Yeah.
When I was not a mechanic, when I was higher up. And then I was like, well, I would like to do this, but I wasn't allowed. But I think this would have a better outcome in 3 months. So it was a lot of that in the back of my mind, and given the full canvas to do it my way.
It's kind of like the last step, really.
Unbelievable, right?
In your career.
Yeah.
Because you've done everything.
Everything else.
Yeah.
Yep. Crew chief, mechanic, won races, 450, 250. It's scary. And even now I'm figuring it out a lot as I go. But a lot of people have supported me in my decision. And even when it came time to do the deal, I was like, I got to talk to Mitch about this. I can't just be like, no, I'm out. I'm like, hey, I've got this opportunity to build a team from pretty much zero and manage it. What do you think? And he's like, well, I don't want you to leave, but I get the opportunity. You got to kind of take it. So if I didn't have his blessing, I wouldn't have done it. I don't know why. Just the respect thing of being a part of that program for so many years, or one of the most influential guys in the industry. But I was just like, fuck, I'm just gonna roll the dice on myself. What's the worst that could happen? I fail. But you have that negative mindset. And like, I'm a glass half empty person, not a glass half full. And terrible.
You're a palm.
Yeah, that's why, from where I come from. Yeah. Terrible at that. So I'm just like, the slightest little thing would derail me. And I'm like, this is fucked. Like, it's not going to work, but you got to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. But it was a lot, but I've learned so much. Like, you take it for granted, these factory teams have these test tracks and it's just handled. And I'm like, I've got to find insurance for a test track for a privateer team, and I've got to find the right insurance, and the vehicles are going to be insured on the property, and just I know how to register a semi and insure a semi now, and just it's just been unbelievable. But now looking back, I mean, I'm glad I took the opportunity, because we're growing something really cool right now.
Yeah.
And the reason that I'm here is probably because of what we've achieved so far during Supercross season, and we've put a small little privateer team on the map. Year one.
It has been a pretty impressive year.
Appreciate that, yeah.
What's the, like, why? What's the...
I wish I could give you the answer. Like, I came in October 1.
Yeah.
We got to build a semi. We got to build a shop. We got to... The team owner was just like, okay, let's just build a shop here. Like, I've got a semi in the
what's his deal?
So his deal is a successful construction guy out of New York, and no one really heard of him before the end of the season, because I asked around once I started connecting with them. Successful guy out of New York in construction, kind of retired, has this non-profit, Sons of Our Fathers, that helps underprivileged kids like go hunting, fishing, things like that, and then took some money from that to help riders get to the races, pretty much, just get them by from week to week. And it just escalated that. He had a little team with a fifth wheel last summer with some of the guys that are on the team now, and was just like, I want to go up Supercross racing. I was like, have you ever been to a Supercross race before? And he was like, nah. I was like, your mind's going to be blown.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So rare.
Very. Yeah. I mean, and everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
I believe. So this is, like you said, my next step and my next challenge. And I just jumped at it.
So cool. I want to scroll down. I want to have a look. I haven't done
So,
like
like-
too deep of a dive yet.
So what's this? This is the website, huh?
Nah, just the
Just
Instagram.
So
Yeah.
like, it was like he had a lot of sponsors or people got out the chicks too.
Yeah, so all right,
Old
click,
school, huh?
click on that. What's he got going on here? So this is his direction, like
yeah,
having the
you
girls
got to
around?
have the girls. I think it's very old school-esque, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's the boss at the end of the day, so we'll just work with
yeah.
with
nah,
what we got to work
I like
with.
it.
But
Podium girls.
it was like I was
click out of that.
I was the only new employee, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So-
so everyone was pretty much.
Riders were already signed.
Yeah.
Mechanics are already there.
And so is MX6 his?
That was his racing number actually when he was a racer back in upstate New York.
Ah.
Yeah,
And so they were on Cowies, like
they
all
were
of
on
that.
Yamahas last year.
Okay.
Switched to Cowie, got Showa suspension.
Yep.
So I was like, "Are you sure you want to be Cowie?" And he's like, "Well, you know Cowie." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
good enough reason. Yeah, good enough reason. All right,
Yeah.
let's go." But it was just like, we need to just start from the ground up. Really, we had no shop in October 1, so we put the shop together
So go to that one there. Yeah.
with the bike and
I wanna
stuff.
see the
So it
bikes.
was like everything was.
I see you got a Futures kid as well.
Yeah, Futures kid who originally they wanted to race pro, but I was like, nah, he needs a couple years to step through.
Yeah.
But that's the program, right? And
Yeah.
it's also me. Again, I'm a POM, so I'll tell you how it is.
Yeah. yeah.
Yourself too, right? So if it's not going to work, you just say it's not going to work, and then it's a business
It's just
deal at the end of the
easier.
day. It's not be like, oh, we'll try and make it work, and then it fails. Just makes yourself look stupid. So
Yeah.
I'm more so that we could do this, and this is the outcome. If
Yeah.
we do this, this will probably fail.
Yeah.
So
So let's just skip that shit.
In the beginning, I was working from home for like 6 weeks, lining up sponsors and on the phone, emails and stuff like that. And it was more so,
The bike looks fucking sick.
it's not bad, honestly.
So Chad does your engine?
Yep, Chad helps with engine development and stuff. And Mitch is a big part of that also with product.
Yep.
Chad helped me with mapping because I never mapped before.
Okay.
Of all the years, what I did, I was always had good mapping guys at the positions I was at because, again, going back to specific roles for people.
Yep.
PC, we had a mapping guy who was good, and then at KTM, they had a mapping guy. So I'd never really got involved with mapping, and I'm like, I'm not getting involved with that now. I've got to manage people and put pieces of the puzzles together. So for me, I needed to bring in the right people that would help me evolve this program also because when I spoke to him, I was more like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because I'm not coming to a team that's going to disappear after year 1 or 2. He was like, I want to win. I'm like, that's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
I can win in 5 years.
Fuck, that's sick. It's such a cool challenge. Like that
Absolutely.
5 years is going to go so quick.
I know. We're one more weekend and we got Supercross done with, right?
Yeah.
So it's nothing bad or anything, but the rider's already there. So that's what I got to work with. We got a shop, so we built it out, got parts
Where's the shop here?
in Corona, California.
Yeah.
A lot of things fell into place. I live in Corona.
Yeah. And that's
I
where
don't even need to go on the freeway to get to the shop.
Fuck.
I'm just like,
Dreaming.
writing the pros and cons, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, this opportunity. I rented a test track in the Corona Hills so I can go to I can
So you
hear-
guys have your own test track?
Yeah, I can hear the boys from my house just ripping, you know? It's just like a lot of
So
things.
this guy's done it right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He gave me the opportunity to be able to do it right because in the beginning I was just like, okay, we need to, if we want to be successful in 5 years, if we start this now, we might get there in year 3,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
It definitely speeds up the process. Or rather you wait till year 3, then you're like, we need a test track.
Yeah. 100%.
You
Yeah.
always miss that boat. So we might as well go in from the beginning. And even some of that success that we've had this year, I said to him and everyone involved, if the riders could have their best results of their career on this equipment, we did something right.
Yeah.
Who we did with all 3.
Yeah.
So like we're trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
But then myself, glass half empty kind of person, I'm like, well, we had a fifth.
Yeah.
I want a podium,
Yeah.
you know? But that's what gets you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
But being humble and just looking at where we're at right now,
Yeah. I think
we
you guys
kind
are
of put it on
punching.
the map.
Yeah. I think you guys are punching
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, even from the beginning, it was like we need to market ourselves as best as what we can possibly be. So hiring a company that already I knew within the industry, Align Media.
Yeah.
So I'm like, boys, you need to run the social because I don't know how to run social media.
Yeah.
I know how to get a dirt bike to the race. I know how to work on all that kind of stuff and work with riders, I said, but I need to, again, put the people in the place to make the program look efficient, which it is. So we got Align and then pulled in a lot of sponsors. Like pretty much everyone that I worked with when I was at GasGas were happy to help.
Really?
Happy to help.
That's awesome.
Like we got breaks from Motomaster, and I spoke to them in Europe, and they were like, "No problem, Ollie, whatever you need." Spoke to like DID Clay at DID, and he was like, "Yep, I can provide you with
Dude,
this."
Clay's awesome, mate.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And these were the relationships already built.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm stupid not to lean on these people, because if I can grow something really big, it's going to help them and help us. And even some guys were like, "Yeah, we don't have a Cowie team. Perfect. This is what we need." So a lot of pieces fell into place easily.
Yeah.
When it came to that. So everything has its challenges, as you know.
Yeah. How much progress have you guys made this year?
A lot.
And that's with bikes, riders,
Bikes,
like everything?
riders, just critiquing it too. And actually a lot of it I put down is to having our own test track. I struggled to get the insurance in the off season to get us on track. And we weren't on our own facility, on our own track until probably just the week before we started racing, actually. Now, when you ride public tracks, okay, it's cool. It's a good opportunity, but you're there from like 9 till 2. You can't go and really do sections because there's bikes everywhere. You can't do starts. You can't set up timers. You can't do drills. You can't just pick anything apart on the bike, because you're in, you do your session, you leave. Now, a lot of that, the success, I believe, has come quickly because we have our own track, because I'll make them ride it backwards if that's what needed to be. You know, we can do starts. We can stay there till the sun goes down. We can set up timers. We can do whatever. We can put a red fender on if that's what made it better. We can do whatever we want privately and just evolve the program. And I believe a lot of it has been that. Obviously, we have a lot of experience. I have a good suspension guy that came from Cowie, understands Showa, got myself. We just, each week, we're picking apart our weaknesses. Now I have to deal with the riders, so I have the meeting with the riders of how to evolve their program, what we need to work on with the bike, what they need to work on, just bouncing ideas off each other and just keeping the egos in check. Not that we have any. When you get an ego, I think it's catastrophic in a program. And just also teaching the mechanics what I expect out of them. It was a little loose in the beginning, and it would stress me because I'm trying to do A, B, and C and get everything in line to go race, and then they're off over here doing kind of what they wanted. But I brought in a mechanic that I had at GasGas, so that kind of helped bring the crew together, build a little bit of structure, but you can't build that overnight. And that's where I have to give some grace, because my old lady would be like, "They're not you, okay? Just give them some grace." And I'm just like, New Year's Day, I'm in there. Like the only day I took off all off season was Christmas Day. But them too, if I'm in there, they're in there. Like
The mechanics?
Yep. The crew. Yeah. So like, I don't expect them to work on the weekends on a weekend off if I'm not in there with them. But everyone had to do something to help. Like I was putting up shelving for the parts room on Christmas Eve. I don't care. I've done it before. There's nothing more humbling than just, it's like
cracking on.
It's just like a startup business, right? You got to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Are you glad? You glad?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I actually think the industry has accepted us easier than what I anticipated. Like I'm called to team manager meetings, and we're just a privateer team, just kicking around the top 10, which is awesome. I mean, and the industry needs teams like that, and even to make those riders that were outside the top 10 inside the top 10. So it's definitely put us on the map.
Yeah.
I want to say a massive congratulations to the team at Fist Handwear, because starting right now, Fist is proud to be officially distributed in the US through a partnership with Parts Unlimited, bringing their gloves to riders all across the US. That means it is easier than ever to get your hands in a pair, no matter where you are. I've been banging on about how amazing Fist gloves are for the last 10 years, and now it's easier than ever for US riders to get a pair of their own. If you've heard me talk about them on the podcast before, but never tried a pair of your own, now there's no excuse. No matter what you ride, motocross, BMX, road, or even on the job, Fist has a glove designed for every condition, from blazing heat to icy cold. Apart from being the best performing gloves in the world, they also have a design for any flavor, from wild prints and bold graphics to collabs with some of the world's best athletes. And it doesn't just stop at gloves. Fist has moto socks, tees, hoodies, and hats, the full kit and caboodle.
I've trusted Fist for over a decade and I don't plan on changing. Do yourself a favor, join the Fist army today at fisthandwear.co or head in to your local dealer and tell them that they need to start stocking Fist. So have the boys evolved this year because of the structure that you've been able to bring? Because I can imagine that in years past, like they probably didn't have this level of structure and they didn't have this level of, because I mean, it's a privateer team, but I feel like you have a factory level structure.
Absolutely. I think that's the only way for it to be successful.
Yeah.
And I came in with the mindset of we can win in 5 years only if we have this structure. The boys obviously do their own training and with their riding coaches and things like that because they're older. They've been with these guys like Henry's with Troll Train. Like, it works.
Yeah.
So you're not going to pick that apart. I think for me, it's to approach it that when they were privateers, they get one set of suspension in the off season and that's it. The setting's not changing.
Yeah.
The engine's not evolving.
The oil's probably not changing.
The same air filter, you know,
Yeah.
the muffler's blown out and it loses horsepower. So for us the attention to detail, I think, is what took it to the next level. Like, we'd watch the races on Saturday and we'd struggle with the on-off. I'm like, okay, we need to change our shock setting. And then the suspension guy wants to evolve too. So it's his ideas, picking it apart, discussing it, and be like, okay, we'll try shock this week. So it's just the evolution of rider gets better, rider outrides the suspension. You got to adjust suspension to make the rider better.
Whereas in the past, with
There's
these
your
boys,
suspension, go ride. Yeah.
the rider gets better, but they don't really get that much better because now they've got better and the equipment stay the same. So they just live inside that box.
Now, factory teams always get better because everything evolves. So that's the way we're at. We've been evolving with the guys, even adapting to track conditions. Like we change the spring or we're changing the clutch or working on tires. Like you see people groove tires and stuff. Chances are they haven't had that before, you know, like we're heating tires. We're just doing everything that I've done in the past as a crew chief mechanic with these guys. We're just running it I'm running it as a team that I was on, PC, TOD, whatever, exactly the same.
What don't you have that those guys have?
Parts budget. We pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have parts budget and we don't get free bikes. We buy them.
Really?
So that's the privateer level. Yeah. We buy everything. Some sponsorship product is at cost. Some sponsorship products are free. We just make do with what we got. Like I hound the boys. I'm like, don't throw anything away. Now, when I was a factory mechanic, you'd build a bike and everything's
Done.
tear-offs, brake pads, tear-offs, clutches, tear-offs, just everything's gone. But now I'm just like, if I see anything in the trash, I will snap because we might need that in 6 months.
Yeah.
So like we have cabinets and we file all the used parts away and it's just, now I do budgeting and I look at the numbers and I'm like, oh, we were so wasteful at those teams.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I need to be smart and strategic about it to make this program last. But also you got to do it the right way to present yourself that we can maybe bring in some outside sponsorship and then grow the program even better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the one thing as well, the one mistake that people make when these kind of teams happen is like, oh, this got this fucking cashed up guy that's coming in and let's just take as much as we can get. And let's just spend as much money as, and then they
there's
leave.
no end goal, right?
Yeah,
because
then they
it's
leave.
happened before.
We've seen it a million times.
It's to be strategic, but also you need to come in at the level like to be taken seriously. And I think we did that so far this year. We got to get into motocross, which is a whole different ball game. But it's tough. There's a fine line of that, you know. And it's just like anything could stop tomorrow. Like a factory team could stop tomorrow with budget funding, or just someone's like, "Well,
did you see one stop yesterday?
Yes, I did. Yeah, yes, I did. A big one too. You know, so like, it's only getting harder with the. I mean, I can preach to the choir, but flights, hotels, diesel in the semi. Now I see all that, right? Like a few years ago, TK was like, "Oh, we went over budget on our flights," and I'm like, "Ah, whatever, changing clutch, don't throw the old one away." But now I'm like, holy smokes, I got to pay this much money to get these people to the next race. I'm like, but it's going to rain, so I need this extra person to help. And it's just balancing. Small business owner is the way I look at it.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep the lights on.
Yeah. Have you guys had more interest this year, like since the program started, to where maybe some riders want to ride for you, maybe there's some sponsors. Like, can you see the progression?
Sponsors, I think, will come later. Like as I said, I've already brought to the table sponsors that I want to work with, and if we can get more out of them in year 2, then that's a win for me. Even if it's free product, they can want to put some money in, or even a bonus structure. That would go a long way with the program. Riders, the phone's ringing.
Really?
Yeah, the phone is ringing, which I'm kind of not surprised, and I need to sometimes pat myself on the back, but we're doing the right things. We're looking good. We're actually backing up the results. We're evolving with the riders. Starts are getting better. We're in there every week, and that's more than what I could ask for.
Yeah. So talk about the boys, because I mean,
Okay. All right, so we got Henry.
Yeah, so you got Henry,
Henry.
who he's cool as fuck.
Yeah, sound actually.
I hung out with him a bit in World Supercross,
Yeah.
and he had some good results. Like,
Yeah.
was it Canada? I think he had like a really Switzerland.
Sweden. Yeah.
He was ripping. I think he got like 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
So he's definitely super talented.
Yeah. Then we got Derek Kelly.
Who's ripping.
Yeah. Yeah. He came out like when we were in Dallas for practice, I was in the tower and he's like 3rd, 4th. And I'm like, holy smokes. All right. So you never know where you are until you get to that first race, right? That's the platform. So we were right where we were ahead of where my expectations were from the beginning. So we got Alex.
He's talented.
Yeah. Yeah. So he actually broke his wrist the first day riding Supercross. And I never really got to see him ride on a Supercross track, to be fair. So and then we got Derek, who's him and Henry a little older, but they took offense to it, but I was like, you can't teach old dog new tricks, but that's exactly what we've done this year.
Really?
We've made him better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even then, in the beginning, it was a little bit of a loose program, and with Derek, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, it's a bit of a disaster this week. And he's like, you kidding me? Like, this is the sickest team I've ever been on.
Yeah, I bet.
And I'm like, really? I'm like, I'm not happy with it right now. So I can see the end goal, but it's just get into there. And then, we got an SMX Next kid, Gavin, and then obviously Marshall was been around forever, so Marshall's on the program.
Yeah.
And even he had a top 10 in a Supercross race a couple weeks ago, and then didn't qualify for some. He's been the biggest project. Like, he just lacks a lot of self-confidence.
Yeah.
And
he's so talented though,
Very
like
much.
in terms of bike skill.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Yeah.
And even though the last few weeks he started to unlock a few little things, and it's crazy because he started riding with Barcia during the week, and I told Justin, just don't be easy on him. I said, make it hard.
Like
because
grilling.
get him out of his comfort zone during the week, and then you come to the races on the weekend and you're used to being outside that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Because if you ride during the week in your comfort zone, which I see with a lot of these riders, they get to the race and it's just, they're not used to being in that position, or on the edge or taking chances. But if you can do that during the week, it becomes second nature on the weekends.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that, they staying in their comfort zone is like the right thing because they're worried about how they look in practice, and they want to like just make sure they can finish the 20, and they don't want to bury themselves
pacing
for
it out.
5.
Yeah.
They're just pacing it, and they're not trying to empty the tank
Yeah.
at 15 and then roll the last 5 laps and get last in the group moto. But it's like that's kind of
Well, if you did
what
that,
it
if you
takes.
buried it for 15 and you finished last, well, the next week you bury it for 16 and a half or 17.
Yeah.
And you don't finish last, you finish 18th. And then before you know it, you're ripping the whole 20 and you're 5th.
Yeah. And it's
It's
very
just structure, but you got to
it's optics.
understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you don't want to look a certain way in front of your teammates or your teammate.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Deegan do it.
Mhm.
So I've seen times where Deegan would just fully this was a bit earlier. Like now, obviously you can do it.
Yeah.
But it's like would just fucking delete himself,
Mhm.
and then wouldn't win. Like they're doing those scrimmage motos, and he's like trying to get up there, and it was like just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
We're just like, I'm going so hard because you're going to have to go that hard for the whole time. Like if you want to be successful in Supercross, there's no pacing.
Yeah.
There's some of those races you look at Hunter and Kenny, dude, just emptying the tank. And it's like, if you can't do that in practice and then just wait.
How are you going to expect to do it on the weekend?
Yeah.
But I believe that too. And like he has the right people in his mind, in his ear. And it'd be like, just trust. It's crazy. Trust the process. But it is fact.
Yeah.
A fact.
Yeah. And so that's what these guys kind of need to.
Yeah.
And so when you said to Barcia, like, be hard on him, like, could you see that he was making
At the weekend, he was better and then he's gotten better. So I think it's trending in the right direction because I said to Marshall, when Justin rides, you ride. So if they can get together and ride together this summer, I think it'll be successful for the outcome of Marshall for sure.
It is wild to think your career and the history that you've got in the sport. It's very rare to see someone in your position make a step like this into this privateer team manager world. But man, what an incredible resource for a guy like Derek Kelly. Like, he's fucking good. Very, very good. A little bit older.
Yeah.
Same as Henry Miller.
Yeah.
But man, what a blessing for those guys to be able to get to work with someone with your level of experience. Like, you're reserved for the Faulkners and the Barcias, and you're reserved for the guys that have already made it. And now you've been put in a position where these guys have access to you. Mm-hmm. And you're a guy that they just probably shouldn't have access to.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean? Yeah, so if the funding at KTM never got
they would have
bad, I'd still be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So this path wouldn't have happened. So everything happens for a reason. And then also it was an opportunity for me to actually prove to the industry that I kind of know what I'm talking about, without being cocky or Billy Big Balls about it. But the proof's in the pudding, right? So we are getting some results year one. But what I got from them was respect day one, which was awesome. So I didn't really have to earn their respect, which I'm perfectly fine in doing because I can grind and then show them I'll prove to anyone what I'm worth. But for them to just be like, hey, what do you think? And I'm like, we'll just do this. And then they would do that. Or even at the race, I'm like, hey, I want to open the high speed. Henry's just like, okay. It's sick, But like, it's cool that I could get it wrong. Sometimes you got to take a risk. It could have been a low speed compression adjustment, would have been better. But I'm like, I want to open a high speed. And he's like, okay, we try it. And then he's like, oh, that's good. Or if he's humble enough that he's like, no, that didn't work. Let's go the other way. And not be like, well, why the fuck did we do that?
Yeah.
It's just steps to get to the end goal.
So what are you seeing for the next couple of years? Like, have you got a pretty clear roadmap of where this thing goes and what you guys can do to improve?
Yeah, but it's just executing it. Obviously, funding plays a big part of it. And then maybe we'd like to get some better talent under the awning also to like level us up. We're not ready to hire that winner yet, but I think I could take a 5th place guy and make him a 3rd place guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm working on that for the future. We actually purchased a property from Barcia in Florida to have a training facility there.
No way.
Yeah.
You guys bought Barcia.
Yeah, so that's an exclusive one for you.
Wow.
Justin's been trying to sell it for years, and my owner Chris was in a position that he wanted to invest in some property. And he asked me if I still had a good relationship with Justin. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, because I want to purchase his place. So they did that deal between them. So the end of this season, we'll be acquiring Bamland to the MX6 race team. So
that's
we'll be able to work
massive.
there. And even like, I know how important Justin is to like the industry and things like that, that I told Justin that keep your garage, your workshop on the side, be there. I want him to be a part of it because I want him to ride with my guys and be able to just
that's
like
perfect.
Steel sharpens steel, right? At the end of the day. So if Barcia's around and you see what he's already done to help Marshall, if my other guys can be there too, it's just going to evolve the program.
And then a place for him that he's always got to go.
Exactly.
Man, that's actually massive, eh?
Huge.
Like, that's going to make such a big difference.
I
to
think
the
so,
program.
yeah. Once it's all set up, again, it's like my last off season was crazy. Going into this off season, it's going to be crazy. But it's all part of the bigger picture.
So you guys, will you move over there?
I'll probably do both. I mean, I'm going to have the shop in Corona still, that things will be assembled and parts and things like that. But just have Florida as like a riding facility.
Yeah.
With a shop for the boys, and then other people can go there and ride also and just use it.
So this is escalating pretty quickly.
Way too fast.
Yeah.
Way too fast.
That's awesome.
It's almost overwhelming how fast it's coming at me, but I think I've done a pretty good job of keeping it grounded in the best that I could. It's just a lot going on.
I bet.
But that's why I'm in this position I'm at, right? Because I got hired to do this job. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of it. Could someone else do it better? Maybe, maybe not. But this is my opportunity right now to get shit done.
Yeah. So what do you reckon, you guys, as a privateer team, what would you spend this year? What's the overall budget?
I don't even want to tell you.
Not even a ballpark?
Oh, millions.
Really?
Yeah, millions.
Fuck.
Yeah, but you think we started from zero, right?
Yeah,
It's not
so
like
you're not
we
going to have
rolled
to...
anything in, right?
Yeah.
Shop,
Yeah.
benches, shelving. It's just U-line. I probably spent so many thousands with U-line, just with shelves and plastic bins. Then you got to get the parts because nothing rolls over from last year. Like, then we go to extra clamps, right? I have nothing. So I got to do practice bikes, race bikes, spare in the semi, spare where Marshall is, like spare in the van. Like, you're doing like 25 sets of clamps in one order.
How much is that clamp order?
Massive. Yeah, massive. They helped us tremendously with some free product, but only to a certain number, and then we had to pay on top of that. So like that takes your budget also. Not
Yeah.
like these other teams that might get unlimited for free. I don't.
Yeah.
But that's my level. But I can prove to them that in the future I'm a good enough team to get unlimited for free.
Yeah.
So it's just everything. Motors, wheels. Like I ordered 45 sets of wheels because I had nothing for practice bikes because they switched from Yamaha. So you need 2 practice bikes, race bikes, spare set for practice, spare set for race. And then after Supercross, you're going to need a new set of wheels. So it's just like, I'm really good at the quantities and rotating of engines. That was my specialty, So doing that is easy. But then now I put a number to it and I'm like, oh, yeah.
You're like, I had it so good when
I'm
I
like,
didn't have
oh.
to think about the money.
Factory, it was just like no money was involved. I was like, yeah, get me 50 frames. And now I'm just like,
Wow.
might have to make these last a little longer.
How has Cowie been to work with?
I have a good relationship with Ryan Holiday to get crate motors. Mitch, I get motors from Mitch. A lot of engine parts from Mitch. He helped. Like I told Mitch, I couldn't make this program successful if I didn't have his blessing or his help.
Yeah.
Because his has the best stuff. So like I need his valve springs and
Yep.
things like that. So like you can't ride a Cowie without Pro Circuit part on it.
Really?
Yeah. Like even the shifter. Is a Pro Circuit shifter. You'll just bend the stock one and Mitch makes the billet one. So it's just, you can't race a Cowie without having some sort of Pro Circuit product on it.
So gangster.
Yeah.
Mitch is just
Smart.
Mitch
Yeah.
is just the G, bro.
Businessman. Yeah.
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 So I guess like how much rolls into, are you going to have to spend millions again next year?
No.
So next year's more of an idea of this
Yeah.
is what it really costs
Yeah.
to run this
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can take that aside because I'll only need equipment for racing next year. Like my race stuff from this year will roll into practice stuff next year, like motors and wheels and things like that. It won't get trashed. It'll get rolled in.
Yeah.
So it'll all be practice equipment for the following season. So then you only need to get racing equipment. Like I already have a semi. We'd already got the shop. We've already paid the lease on the track. And so it's more like getting the mechanics to races, paying salary, and just evolving.
So what do you think that number is?
Still in the millions.
You still think it's
Yeah.
over $1 million?
Yeah, with how things are these days with fuel, like it costs $1,000 to fill up my tractor to get to the race.
So true. And it's only getting worse.
Flights, you can't fly across country for less than $1,000 anymore.
Isn't it crazy?
Mental.
Dude?
Yep. Now
Yeah.
we stay in Airbnbs as a team, which actually I quite like.
Yeah.
All the teams together, but I'd always be at Mitch's. We'd share hotel rooms. We get hotels, and then at TLD we get our own hotel. And you look at the price to get each mechanic their own hotel every week, and you're like, wow, mental.
So what do you think Star would spend a year on their 250 program?
Millions, yeah, of course.
6
like
mil, 7
yeah,
mil?
for sure. I wouldn't even know. Like I haven't even finished Supercross yet to look at my numbers. I know they're scary.
And this, your owner Chris just doesn't even flinch at
He's
it.
just into it. He wanted a race team, and even in the beginning, I was like, "Am I okay to do this?" He's like, "You don't need to ask me anymore. Just if we need it, do it." We have check-ins once a week. He actually he moved to California. He just loves it out here.
Really?
Yeah.
How old is he?
Probably early 50s, late 40s.
What a fucking legend.
Yeah. Gee, it's almost too good to be true. I'm not micromanaged. I can just use my experience and my contacts and grow this program. And he just shows up at the race, watches, and then dips.
It's one of those things where as a business owner, it's so hard to find people that want to work in your business, that care for your business like it's your business and run it like it's your own, like it's their own. And you're that guy.
I see that, yeah.
You know, you're running this business like every dollar's your dollar. And it's very, very, very hard to find people that respect your dollar and your time as much as...
I was told that by Tyler Keefe, actually, spend the team's money like it's your own.
Yeah.
A long time ago. And like, honestly, if this program fails, I've only got myself to blame.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of pressure and I'm not about to let that happen. So that's why there's been a lot of late nights and a lot of stress, but it's what I signed up for.
And where does this rank in terms of years of your career?
I don't know. I still look back on the old days, like the Forkner years or the Barcia years, just because the pressure was less. Give me a couple of years and I'll probably look back and see this is one of those too. But I got to get through this stage to be
You're just so in it right now.
Buried in it, but like for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I just get a lot of self-pressure, like at the races, like if we don't do good, it's on me. And I don't account for like freak situations, or just like, I'm trying to be a people pleaser. Whereas sometimes you just got to be like, nah, cut the shit. This is it. Or this happened this weekend. It was out of my control. Move on to next weekend.
Yeah.
Whereas I dwell on it a little bit.
So there's a lot of, I guess there's probably like personal growth.
Absolutely.
As well that's going into this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I had to go through last year of not being at the races and like not being heard or just being unhappy. You had to get through that and grow to be able to come to this next stage in my life, to be able to grab this with both hands too and actually just go full speed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that I've ever been in your position, but I think from like the business owner and like just everything is on you. Like, I mean, if I underperform and if I fuck up, it affects 5 other people plus my wife.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. And I mean, there'd be a lot of guys listening to this podcast right now that have businesses, that have families, that have employees. Like that's the silent pressure of being a man. In 2026.
Yeah, and you can't complain about it. You just got to get up each morning and just get on with it.
Yeah. But that's what's hard. I don't think the work's hard. Like I love this.
Yes.
Like this, just this.
Yeah.
And when you're working on a motorcycle, that's fucking easy. And it's such a pleasurable thing to do, but it's all of the externals and the pressure that comes along with knowing that if you don't perform, like you said, if you fuck this up, it's on you because you're the tip of the spear.
Absolutely. I'm steering the ship right now.
And that's the hardest thing to get your head around. And like, when I'm not enjoying my life, even though I have a fantastic life, there's still times where I really just don't enjoy that. It's the pressure.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy the fact that I just can't stop. I can't have bad weeks. I can't have bad months. Every single thing is on me just showing up and performing. And like that gets so hard. And I feel like, at least where I'm at in life right now, my definition of success is basically how much can you put on your shoulders and how far can you walk.
Yeah, 100% agree.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, that is it. Yeah. And sometimes you just cannot delegate. You just have to do it yourself. And that's where a lot of it has been for me. I mean, we're walking right now. Just keep walking, one foot in front of the other. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
And that's growth. That's context. I used to be the slightest little thing years ago. I'm like, we're fucked. We're fucked. We can't do it. We're just not doing it. But now it's just like, okay, problems are not problems, they're opportunities.
Yeah.
So it's just like, all right, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to work forward?
Yeah.
So it's growth for sure. And I think I threw myself at the deep end and swimming so far.
Yeah. It's one of those things too where there's actually, do you do any like meditation or anything like that?
No, I'm terrible. I should. I think it will calm me down.
Okay. There's an app that I want you to download.
Okay.
It's called Waking Up.
Okay.
And so there's meditation stuff in there. So there's like a daily meditation that you can do, but there's two sides of this app. One is the meditation side and the practice and the sitting. But then there's the other side where it's just these really incredibly smart people that have these series. It's almost like an audio book, and you can just listen to these. It's like guys that have written books on money and guys that have written books on meditation and guys that have written books on time management. And it's fucking phenomenal. It is the craziest resource. But so and then Sam Harris, he's the guy that runs the app. He's got all of his own like lessons that he does. But so there's one really great lesson, and it really did change my perspective on problems, right? I was living my life expecting that the next problem I solve should be the last problem that I ever have to fucking solve.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the most retarded expectation that a person can have of their life.
Yeah.
The expectation should be that after you solve this problem, you have to solve the next problem.
Yeah.
And after you solve that,
They're always coming.
and if like think about, and I'd never thought about it like this, when you're the kind of person that is just expecting that this tax bill is the last tax bill. No.
Just wait till next
By
one.
definition, in 3 months, I'm going to have to pay it again. And, that every single problem that you have in your day-to-day life is going to be there, whether it's in a month with bills, whether it's there in a week, whether it's there tomorrow. Your life is a cacophony of problems.
It is, yeah.
That needed to be solved. And when you have the mindset that I had, that like, surely when I fix this, my life will be fine and easy and there's no more problems. You think that the more money you get, there'll be no more problems. You think the promotion that you get is going to clear you of problems because you're going to have an assistant or what? No, life is problems. And if you can change your perspective towards those problems, because the problems are going to be there whether you like it or not. But if your perspective towards those problems is better and easier and lighter and freer, then your life is going to be easier, better, and freer, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll download that for sure. I could always use some help in that aspect. But like being where we're at the race team, there's a lot of problems every day. Yeah. But it's what we sign up for.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my job to solve them and then go on to the next one.
And there's an element where I think that you can feel good about your problems if you feel like they're yours.
Yeah. You get the satisfaction of probably fixing someone else's problem for them more than fixing my own. You know, like someone needs your help on something and you can help them solve that problem. It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And whereas I'm like you, I fix my problem, I'm like, on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think like all of these problems that I have, it's like, it's my business. I chose to do this. So it's like, I think that perspective as well is you're going to have problems, like you said, whether you work at Home Depot.
Yep.
There's going to be a set of problems that are Home Depot problems.
Yeah.
Or there's your race team problems. And it's like, you'd probably rather solve your race team problems than Home Depot problems. Yeah. And I think that, again, it's like having that perspective on how you think about those things.
Yeah, 100%. And even like there's problems that are coming up on this team that I've never experienced before, but there's enough people that I can lean on in this industry and just ask the questions, and I might not solve them the right way, but just give me some context, like Nate or TK or someone like that. Just be like, hey, how did you handle this when you had this situation arise in your race team? And just learn from them too. Because no one can do it all by themselves. That's one thing that I've learned too.
Yeah.
Just try and just do everything yourself. It's not humanly possible.
Yeah.
Especially at this level.
Yeah. So all Supercross, all outdoors,
SMX.
full
Yeah.
SMX. Dude,
Yeah. Straight in.
into it.
Yeah. I know. And like we raced on the east because we weren't ready to race west. But we worked every weekend. We had the big screen on in the shop, just watching the races as we were still working. Like, and just because it's not a race weekend, it's still a weekend of work.
Yeah.
It's just a weekend, not of the race. So like we grinded this winter to get where we're at, but it kind of shows.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I think you guys are punching massively
Yeah.
above your weight. I think that, yeah, Derek as well was like put in some awesome races
Yeah.
and results. Yeah, it's been very, very, very cool to watch. I always wanted to do this with you as well. And
Yeah.
I think like now,
Now, perfect opportunity, right?
yeah, in this time, like it's so cool to see the journey
Mhm.
that you've been on all these years to like
Yeah.
end up in this position. And I really do think it to go from being the crew chief of a factory team to the team manager of a privateer team, it's like maybe people could see that as a backward step, but I think that this is a cool opportunity for the industry. Like for a guy like you to become available to like a Derek Kelly,
Yeah.
and you can see the results and you can see what it's done for him. Like I think that it's just a very cool thing, the position that you're now in and the opportunity for so many people. And I think that that's a way that an industry gets better,
I think so, yeah.
you know, because
There is a big divide in the industry, right? Privateer and factory level. And sometimes, yeah, looking at budget wise and stuff like that, but it might not be all gravy, right? At that factory level, there's still egos and internal drama and things like that. So like nowhere's perfect. And I've learned that over the years too, but it's what you make the best of the situation that you're in. But this was obviously an opportunity that came to me and the timing was impeccable. And it's just, we're here doing it.
it's fucking cool.
Cool. That's cool. And it's good to hear that from like respectable people like yourself in the industry, because sometimes you take a gamble and you're like, why is it the right thing to do? And then when you hear good things, you're like, nah, it just motivates you just to keep leaning into it.
Yeah.
And just pushing forward and growing this thing.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say before, from my experience, you're going to look back in 3 years and you're going to look back very, very fondly
I hope so, yeah.
on this. I do, like, mark my words.
Okay.
Like, you can tell me in a few years.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, I look back at the start of the pod. I was sleeping on the floor of my studio some nights.
Yeah.
Because I was just grinding. So I was doing everything myself. And it was like, I'd record the show. I'd edit it. I'd do all the socials. I'd do all the audio. I'd do all the marketing for it. I'd be doing the sponsor, everything, just all consuming. And then you get to this point where it's, again, you just got different problems.
Yeah.
But I look back at those days and I'm like, it's pretty fucking cool to see where we got to. And you look at where we got to and it's like because of that.
Yeah.
And you can have like a sense of nostalgia and warmth towards the struggles and just how fucking hard it was. And not many people are willing to do it, you know?
No, there's only a select few, like yourself, myself. There's a lot of other people in the industry that just live for it too. You know, and I think it takes a certain character to you just don't worry about the bullshit and then you just keep going.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe the Florida thing. Like that's
Gonna be cool. Yeah.
That is massive, dude, to have that facility.
I know the facility well too, you know, because I used to go there with Barcia all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just like another piece of the puzzle to help grow this thing.
Big things, mate.
Massive.
Big things coming.
Massive. Yeah.
So, dude, this was great.
Thank you for the
We just did
opportunity.
3 hours.
It goes fast, right? When you're in here.
It really does.
Yeah.
So, favorite part of my week is like actually getting to sit
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
these because then like all the rest of the there's so much other bullshit.
Yeah.
I look forward to sitting and doing these. So just went quick. You've had a crazy career, bro.
It's not over.
I know. It's probably just getting started.
I hope so. Yeah. I
Yeah.
hope so. Like, just don't take anything for granted. I know I harp on about that, but before I used to be a bit of a punk, you know, and just be like, yeah, whatever. But now it's just like it's another opportunity, another step. It's just cool.
Man, it's going to be, I think that you guys, like I said, you guys have gone above and beyond what I think anybody expected from a first year, first season, first Supercross season. Outdoors is a whole nother,
We'll see.
is a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But man, to have that facility next year, to have the test track dialed, to have riders, like, I'm excited to see where it goes. And it's really cool to have another owner in the industry that is willing to spend this kind of money and get the results.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's good to be a part of it.
Appreciate it, bro.
Awesome.
Glad we finally.
Yeah, I know. It's been a long time coming, huh?
I know. Glad we finally got to do it.
It's sick.
Olly Stone, ladies and gentlemen.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.